Okay, now we're live. What's up, guys? I my intro got messed up. I think I was using somebody's music I wasn't supposed to, so hopefully I didn't get a strike on my second show. So I guess I'll
Demonetized
have
right away.
to use some corny music next time, like "It's the Red Hood Show," "It's the Red Hood Show," something like that. But today is a phenomenal day. I am surrounded by some of the best comic book pressers in the United States and Canada. I've got Canada in the house. So I wanted to do something that probably has been done, but never really, kind of promoted in such a way. I wanted to bring us all together and kind of talk about some of the misinformation out there in the community, and also get to know you guys, and then just kind of talk shop and kind of let people kind of move the curtain about a little bit, just to let people know some of the challenges that we have as pressers and some of the unique things that we've seen over the years. All of us have a number of years pressing books. So I guess let's start with Barry, comic book presser. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Great. Well, hi. Glad to be here among esteemed talent. I'm Barry from comicpressor.com. I'm a collector who started dealing to support his habit. And basically developed ways to buy collections at market value and sell collections at market value and still make money. And found that Atlanta, Georgia, which is where we're based, was not the best comics town. It was hard to meet people. Started using the CGC forums and other things over the years to try to get groups together and talk about things like pressing, and ultimately fell in with a really good partner to start buying collections. And then I involved my kids. And then I don't know about you, but I was trapped in a building with my children for a couple years. And they were on the couch using their phones all day. So I showed them eBay. And we started making money together, and we enjoyed it enough to keep trying. And then ultimately have been developing capabilities to try to scale pressing, whatever that means. And as that hit, other opportunities have grown in the space, and I've learned how to use crazy things like social media, and excited to use that to be here today, to connect with people I idolize, and an opportunity to connect with other people who care about this. So just again, glad to be here.
Okay, Kevin, Comic Doctor, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Kevin Polidano. I'm a comic presser located out of the Toronto, Ontario area, GTA up in Canada. I've been doing this, oh my gosh, this is over 12, 13, 14. It's all a blur. I think around 13 or 14 years. Again, similar to Barry, I was offering this first just for myself. I was just doing it for myself, and then I got pretty good at it and started offering it to friends at comic shows. And then all of a sudden I'd have 3 or 4 guys showing up at one show. The next show I'd have 20 guys, and before I know it, I had line. People were coming just to the show to see me. One of the first guys in the area to really offer this service professionally. I built this up over the last, like I said, 13, 14 years. I now have a standalone brick and mortar shop in Oshawa, which is just outside of Toronto. About 30.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, and I've got a little team of pressers now. Myself, Barry's mentioning scaling. I had to do the same. I couldn't keep up. That COVID crazy time was, I was getting boxes shipped to my house from all over the world. I'm not even just Canada. I've got people sending me books from Mexico and England, all over the place. It's crazy. And yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a crazy ride. I'm also a teacher, so I'm juggling two things here. But I'm nearing the end of that career soon, I think. So as pressing has become really full time the last several years. So
cool.
Yeah.
Chris Myers, talk to us. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going? Great to be here. Great to see everyone again. I had mentioned I've met Red Hood, and Barry and I have been in contact a few times, and it's great to meet Kevin.
You too.
So I've been pressing for 12 years. I'm sure like everyone else here that's been doing it for over a decade, you were like me in the garage, like a mad professor, taking notes and taking notes and taking notes to figure out to crack the seal. And I did it for myself for quite a few years. Then it did roll out to friends and more friends. And We also have a brick and mortar full-blown business that you send your books to. It's not out of my garage, and a few employees, a small staff, and we're insured. And yeah, always trying to learn new techniques, but always go kind of slowly and introduce new things slowly. But yeah, that's about it for me. Thanks.
Okay. So, we were kind of, talking a little bit before we went live, and, one of the biggest things is a lot of the misinformation on pressing books. And, it's caused a lot of issues with, people's books getting damaged, and especially on high dollar books. And, like, if the years that we've done this, it's a craft, and people like want cookie cutter, like a comic press kit, and they get on Facebook and try and get tips, and like there's a lot of misinformation. Like for me on my end, like it takes a lot of practice. It's not something you can like pick up very quickly. And I know, Kevin, you have like in your when you teach someone how to press, because you've got a couple of pressers under you, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you teach, I mean, you need to be side by side with them, right? Kind of. I mean, I can't talk you through unless. I mean, I probably could talk like Chris through a couple of things because he knows, he understands.
It's
But if you're teaching someone from scratch, I mean, that's kind of unique in itself.
The hard part was when people give books to me, they want Kevin to do the books, and I get that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And I understand they want my experience and my know-how. I just don't relinquish books over to my team willy-nilly, right? And if books are a certain value books, I only look at them. I mean, there's some books I have that I'm touching them. No one else is touching them. But that being said, Charlo was with me for quite some time. He was pretty much cleaning books only, and I taught him how to do all that. And the pressing, he kind of learned on his own. He picked up his own presses. He got his own little workshop, and he started doing it. And then when I decided to go full time with this, he came over and he showed me how he did things, and we kind of melded our ideas. I kind of showed him my way of doing things, and that has worked out quite well. And then Nipur, who's working with us now, she came in like us from overseas, and she's she honestly has more. She's probably more qualified than I am with a master's degree in paper conservation, right? So she comes in, and I show her the techniques of comic pressing, and she picks it up very quickly. And then within after several months, she's quite proficient at it. But that being said, I'm a little, I guess the other guys would probably agree with me. I oversee everything, and no book. I see every book that comes through the shop, and that does slow things down. But I have to put my stamp of approval on every. I don't care if the book's a $20 book or a $2,000 book. I have to approve every single book that goes through. And so 3 days a week I go in and yes, no, and I have to have my hands in the mix at all times. I can't just relinquish it completely. But yeah, it's something you just can't pick up overnight. It does take a lot of time. I hope there's a day where I can just trust what they do, but I don't know. I'm just that kind of person. Maybe I won't be able to relinquish that. I don't know.
Yeah, same question for Barry and Chris. Like, have you guys tried to apprentice, if I'm using that correctly, apprentice someone to press books? Is that a thing? Apprentice someone? Like, have you tried to teach somebody how to press a book?
I know a lot of guys have approached me to learn how. I'm sure you guys have heard that as well. Teach me, right?
Oh God.
So I got started actually selling videos on how to press, which I've changed my techniques since I've done that. If anybody knows things with, but basically, so I was doing it, and then I was providing techniques and videos and stuff before YouTube was really the thing, I guess. Maybe it was using Vimeo. But ultimately, yeah, I mean, I went to art school, and we learn art when there's a curriculum and there's ways to do it and change. So ultimately, the pressing part isn't really for us the hard part. The hard part is handling valuable, fragile items, picking them up and putting them down over and over and over. If you aren't the one who first picked it up or the last one who put it down. And so handling valuable material on the regular at scale has been the hardest thing, is really just treating fragile items consistently well. And I mean, yeah, I brought some more stories with me. I won't bore you with it now, but I mean, figuring out how to go, get through all this stuff, after it's out, that's the key. And so, what we end up doing is we write it down. So yeah, we have a lot of codification methods and procedures, and almost like a binder with stuff in it, but most pages aren't used and just a few things are, but handling ends up being the hardest part of what we found.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, Kevin sounds very familiar to part of my journey. Also, some of the things Kevin said, and this is cool that this came up already. I have a small staff, but it doesn't matter if all of a sudden it's COVID and you're getting 4 times the amount of books. You can't it's not like a cash register where you spend 2 hours. It's a journey that should be a true apprenticeship, in my humble opinion, to get to that point where someone would be pressing books for someone else. But the key point here is, I've seen so many people, I don't want to start out negative, but I've seen so many people all of a sudden saying 10 years experience. And I know everyone here has been doing it for a very, very long time. But I've just seen so many people recently popping up and saying that, new people on Instagram. And the thing is, if you bought a press 10 years ago and you used it twice a year for the first year for a weekend, 3 times a year for the third year, then you took a year off. And then I think that's where people are saying they have 10 years experience when you've never seen their process or their books before. So if you have an employee come in and you apprentice them 40 hours a week for 6 months, how much have they surpassed the person that says they've been pressing for 10 years, but they only were a weekend warrior once a month?
Okay, I feel you on that, Chris.
That's a big difference.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, did I even answer the main question there?
No, but that sounded good.
Yeah. So I have had an apprentice that's worked with me, but they would of course not just start doing books. Like, we take a before and after pic of every book that comes in. And it's great to start out just people getting in the flow and unboxing stuff, and then slowly ramp up to more complicated things, basically.
Hey, I got a question. Have you guys ever been rushed?
Oh, God.
Huh? Just
we
checking
do.
on my books.
I mean, most of the time there's a hunger for information in our business. I think those of us here, we're hungry for information to get to where we are, try to learn everything we can. But I mean, ultimately the people who are sending stuff often want to know, they want to see the dot move from left to right as the work kind of goes through the queue. And I don't know, I mean, even the biggest CGC doesn't have such a thing yet. So I would just say that I don't know about being rushed. We provide 1 week turnaround. So I mean, we're set up to go fast. But ultimately, people want to know, where's my stuff? Did you get it? Where's it now? When will I get it? We do our very best to get that information out.
Maybe we ought to have like a Papa John's, like it's in the oven. The pizza place, it's in the oven, right? Like your book is in the press, right? Your book is now being bagged and boarded. Your book is being put in a Gemini, right?
The trick is
on its way.
$50 a book to be able to handle that much, right? That's what I think is the trouble. Is it's like a $12 to $18 to $150 book, and sometimes I've politely said, customer service is number one, like we said before we got rolling. Like, I am a customer service department that happens to press comic books, right? But sometimes I've had to almost been like, I'm sorry, we're still working on your book, but I also would like to point out that this is your 15th email you sent, with so many questions that I don't know if I've ever said that actually, but there's been times I wanted to almost be like, it's tough. It's tough to answer 15 emails for the 3 books, but darn it, we're going to try,
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah. Everybody wants their books back fast. I get it. And what I tell people, your books are never hostage with me. They're never hostage. You want your books back? I'm happy to return them back to you. I'll pay the shipping. I'll pay the handling. I just want you happy. But if you want it done like tomorrow, then you're in the wrong place. My turnaround's not that fast. I wish it was. And I've got 3 people working on books, and that the sheer amount of books that I have coming in is crazy. And I'm still working on books from November, December right now. Right. So there's only so much you can do. And again, that's why I think my YouTube channel has helped a lot, because I communicate with I encourage my clients to come onto my YouTube channel and watch the unboxing. They like to see their books come back from CGC too. It's like a show and tell, a virtual show and tell. They love it. We all love show and tell. When I was in kindergarten, I love show and tell. But and they can ask questions at that point, and I'm happy to tell them where I'm at. It's a waiting game, right? It's getting better, but
I'm not getting a lot of the slabs for my clients because we send them to CDC and then they go back to the client. So I mean, do you have slabs come back to you because you get a grade in Canada?
No. So in Canada, it's different. Now, if I have American clients, and I have quite a few as well, they ship directly back to them. But with Canadian clients, it's actually cheaper for them to come back to me first. It's a pain in my rear end, don't get me wrong, but it's cheaper because I got my daughter sorting. I've got my wife, God bless her. This house is upside down with CGC boxes. They come back here first. My daughter sorts them, and then they can come to the shop and pick them up. But if they're like on the other side of the country, I got to mail them to them. But it's actually cheaper for me to do that because CGC, as you know, will multi-ship to me, but they won't multi-ship to my clients. So if my client has a modern and 2 standards and an economy, they're not going to package them together. They're going to send them one by one. And in the States, your shipping's not so bad, but up here to Canada, it's extremely expensive. It's cheaper to come back here and then for me to repack them and send them to them, say, in the other side of the country. It's crazy.
Well, you've monetized that inconvenience with excellent unboxing videos and other things. And
thank you.
I guess gets his client slabs because he's got the before and afters. We focused mostly on the art of the subtraction and the smoothing because we often don't get the slabs or even good pics of the slabs afterwards. No complaints, by the way. I'm happy my clients get them.
No, I wish I could do that. I wish I could send them back directly. It would make my life like I'm being honest. People, Kevin, you must have. Are you pressing a lot of? Honestly, I'm pressing, but I'm a clerical person now. I do CGC submission paperwork. I deal with customs. I deal with FedEx. It's a nightmare, but it's a whole other job in itself. And you all know that because you do the CG submissions. That's a lot of work. But as they come back, I know the videos I got to do too. People want those videos. They ask, I get video today. I get text. Is there video tonight? Is there video tonight? They love it. That's fun, right? So that's I'm a people person, so I enjoy getting online and talking to people. Yeah. Right. And it's fun. So whatever. You try to make the whole experience fun for them. And that's what I try to do.
What, and I guess this would be another question for all of you guys. What are some of the toughest books you've ever encountered where it's just like, holy shit, this is going to be tough?
I'll start with an easy one. Wolverine #1. Boy, do I hate that book. Yeah. I mean, the fingerprints on the back of that book are horrendous, and they've been sitting there for several years. They're just not coming off. And I feel bad for every person trying to make their grading fees back out of that thing. Yeah. And so anyway, Wolverine #1 is my first vote for most hated book.
I was just explaining to someone the other day, and of course, this, Barry. I just thought I'd follow up with that is because it also happens on Spider-Man 300s a lot.
Yeah, that's my second one, dude. Yes. And people get very upset if they can't get above an 8 on an 300. I mean, they wonder what our problem is. Yeah, I understand.
The difference between if you leave a fingerprint on it, meaning there's something left behind, that's what will come off. And I have one Wolverine I bumped 5 grades on my Instagram because it was the rare case that it was smudge left on it. But most of the time, 99% of the time, it's what Barry's talking about, where it's that little it's like the gunmetal color of a smudge, where your finger came up with the ink smudge on your thumb. Therefore, there's nothing to take off because it's been removed.
Or you strip the color off the comic, basically. Yeah. Your oils from your finger actually pull the ink off the book. So you get these white.
I'm huffing. on that all day. I hear you.
And it just does nothing when it's been removed. Yeah, but we all give it the college try for those.
So not to pile on the Wolverine train, but the next one's Wolverine '88 Deluxe Edition with that beep business reply card right under the cover.
Yes, dude.
Here, dent imprinted in there, right? Yeah. Trying to get that out. That's no fun.
I think mine would be any book that's just a little too brittle. You look at a book like, I think it can handle it. I think it can handle it. And then maybe it doesn't handle it so well. You think, you got to determine how far or if a book should be even worked on because it's just maybe too far gone. And then I'll do a second one too, because this is a funny one. This is like the square bound books, like I think Fantastic Four Annual #2 or Journey to Mystery #1 First Hercules, the Canadian versions, because they're solid white backs.
Right.
Right? And they're filthy. And
all white. Spider-Man Annual #1,
that one
Canadian edition, white on every surface,
right?
Supposedly, right? And it's yellow and
it's black and dirt, and so now,
and then try to have no eraser streaks when you clean that.
Well, that's right. But you see, I've got somebody for that now. I used to do that, but now I go, Charlo. You're a good cleaner. I always give it to him now, and he gets so mad. He gets angry because
that's a
35, 40-minute job right there to clean that sucker at least. Without getting
wipers.
Yeah, so I always joke whenever and people come into my shop now. They go, "I got one for Charlo," and they give it to. They know it's going to him to do it. So it's funny. Those are nightmare books. Those filthy, Canadian variants or Canadian editions, I should say.
I kind of jumped just on the fingerprint comment there, but I guess for me it would be I agree with both of you so far. And the one is when you crack it out. I mean, we of course, just like everyone, no matter what, before I crack out a book, I give it that hands-on, okay. And if it's a no-go because it was a gift the first time or something, we just refund and send back and refund whatever it didn't pay for with the shipping. But when you crack that baby out sometimes, and then you realize just how fragile it is, then you're like, it's out of the case, like, here we go.
Yeah.
It's your show now.
Yeah. So and then of course, when it's really brittle, or you're like, oh my God, it said small spine split, and this one looks like it's more like 5 inches.
Yeah.
So I'm like, of course we all have techniques. We don't press every book the same. So
very high grade, early Silver Age Marvel, though. I mean, a JIM 85, even a Fantastic Four 52 and like an 8.5 or a 9. It's like a sheet of glass. I mean, anything you do to that book, it's like you're gonna mar it. You just to try to treat it. It's just. I mean, my hands tremble. I'm just like literally just trying to move it from one place to the other without introducing a new defect. And any book that is a 9.6 handed to us expected to be a 9.8.
Oh yeah,
very difficult to just make sure you don't introduce anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about that all the time. When someone gives you a 9.6, you only got one way to go. I mean,
I'm done with
that. They want a 9.8.
They just, I mean, or they'll send you a 9.8. They want a different 9.8.
They want a different 9.8.
It could come back a 9.4.
Yeah.
Like it's two different graders. A different set of eyes on it. That's a challenge.
I try to talk them out of it. I just listen. Just go. I said, I go, honestly, I'd rather you just send it to CCS. I honestly, I don't even want to deal with it because there's a good chance it could go up. There's a good chance it could go down, and I don't want to be involved with it. So 9.6s, look, I mean, we have to have a long, serious discussion. If we both agree that you're okay with it going to 9.4 and you're all seriously okay with it, then I'll do it. But I don't like doing 9.6.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I have people go, let's do it. I don't give a shit. Let's do it. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I've had a couple come back on a 9.4 and they're pissed. I go, well, shit, send it back to me. Like comes back a 9.6.
Actually, we should probably talk about that. I do. I mean, we take the graders notes. I mean, personally, again, call me cynical, but CGC's a little bit of a racket. And I mean, they'll put I got no notes on a 7.5 the other day.
I know. No
notes. I mean, but when there are notes and I see something I press 4 or 5 times and it says light finger bends on it. I mean, I look at that. I see stuff like that. And I'm saying CGC encourages CPR. Many of our clients have never pressed a book in their life. And we're meeting a lot of new people, but the people at CGC's clientele, I mean, they pepper the notes with a little bit of bait, hoping people will try it again. I mean, that's part of their marketing.
Yeah.
And so, but for us as the pressers, right? I mean, when you're literally judged, someone pays to judge your work, a week later. I mean, it's very tough to see notes. So we take books back if we think that there's a pressable defect in that note. We were willing to take it back and try one. As long as the customer pays for grading again, we're willing to take it back and try it one more
time. I did a show last week, my first show, and one of the things I did is kind of like my whole stick when I CPR, but like the pre-screening, right? And for me, that is kind of like the most important thing that I do, because like to what Barry said, you need to identify if there's more defects than actually the customer got dinged on, right? And so you're like, oh shit, I got to take care of these defects too. These were missed.
Yeah.
And if you don't pre-screen a book properly, they'll catch them when they're pressing your book, and then the book comes back a lower grade. You're just like, what the hell, what happened? So I mean, it's making sure you have time to pre-screen the books, and that's why, the misinformation out there, it takes time. You got to have patience, and if you don't, you're going to rush through books, and you're not going to get the grade that you want. So that's my little take on it.
I'm totally with you, Red Hood, too. Along those notes, a thing that throws people for a loop a lot of the time is pressed books that are smooth as glass. And I always try and say it doesn't always mean it's going to be smooth as glass in every situation, but sometimes you'll have one that's smooth as glass, and the notes will still say creasing.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And typically, in my opinion, I feel like I'm correct on this, where that's just where the paper fibers have been broken. So you can't change that, but it's smooth. So a lot of times I don't think people understand that if a book says it has creasing, that doesn't mean a dent. That means paper fibers have been broken in it.
Absolutely.
You cannot press out a crease. A crease is there. What you can press out the faceting that goes with the around the crease. Right. So yeah, if it says a crease, you're living with it, but you don't. It can be minimized.
I'm always trying to help educate everyone, not you guys, of course, but I mean like this people submitting so they know like creases.
The new CGC grading guide is helpful though. It's not a perfect document, but I praise CGC there and Matt Nelson and others who took the time or made the investment to do it. I mean, it's of course we're all paying retail for a book, but I mean we have one now, and so while it's not perfect, it does help bring some boundaries around what can and can't be fixed and how severe the issue might be.
Yep, I'm sure everyone has one at home and one at the shop. I know I do.
I would if it didn't cost me $100 to ship it here.
Well, we need to hook you up, Kevin.
There a digital edition. Hopefully that's coming.
I was gonna do it. You know what? For the amount of books I friggin' send there, they should send me a gratis one as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on that $299.
I was gonna say they just raised, so we're all we didn't pay anything to subscribe to help monetize CGC's customer base for them. Now last year they introduced us with a $150 fee, and with zero notice or explanation or added value, it's now a $199 fee.
Oh, it did
so
go
no
up?
question. That's right. So I hear you. It would be nice to have, but anyway, I'm sure CGC will eventually, I'm optimistic, continue to distribute this information in a way where we can all make use of it, even if we don't have to buy and ship a block of paper.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. I don't want to go on a slamming CGC kick here. I could go on.
CGC is wonderful. They are market makers. So we all have to follow their rules. That's probably just
we do. But I mean, I'm an authorized dealer. I'm sure you're all authorized dealers as well too. And I don't know what I mean. I know some guys are authorized dealers and they submit 50 books a year. But I'm submitting in the last 2 weeks or last week and a half, I submitted 350 books. Maybe that $200 fee you're asking for is a little bit of a slap in the face of the amount of work I do to promote your company.
They did lower the discounts too, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. And when I asked about that, they said, well, you can add that on top of your you can get that back by charging your clients. So
business tips from CGC.
Exactly, right?
Okay.
So it's just that kind of thing drives me crazy. It's like loyalty, right? Again, customer service. I was talking about with you guys outside. Like we're their greatest customers. We're the ones bringing the books to them, and I think they should be treating the dealers a lot better. But that's
I will say I don't have any complaints about CGC customer service when I talk to people.
Neither do I.
With a polite,
responsive
person who takes the time to at least understand what my question is, even if they can't get me an answer quickly. I've been very pleased.
Me too. Now they were sour in the old days. They're a lot better now. They've really improved.
Okay, I've never experienced anything but a polite and kind and knowledgeable CGC person on the outside to me.
Yeah, that's
good. I could tell you a couple of stories, but that would be another show.
Yeah.
We don't need to throw them under the bus.
I tend to get the best out of people. You know what I mean?
There's a lot to be mindful of with CGC, but actually I think that keeps us in business a little bit. The complexity of grading comics in general and all the work it takes to get stuff to them and back is something that is very hard to understand if you're new. I know how long it took me waking up to collecting and seeing that everything had value and then it had to be graded, and the difference in graded values and one label color over another. I think it takes quite a while for outsiders to learn. And I think us in the pressing, really, we're grading facilitators in some way, right? Ultimately, people don't want a press book. They want a prettier presentation or more pride in their collection or higher value because of the grade. The grade itself is just a symbol, I think. So ultimately, we try to focus on making people not feel like outsiders to that experience.
Right. I agree, because like a 9.6 and a 9.8 are virtually the same thing. They're both near mint.
Well, I know you know this, so I'm not correcting you there, Red Hood. I'm always telling people, though, the easiest thing whenever they're asking me about pre-screening the 9.6s, I'm like, just look for one little bitty 1/4-inch color break, and it's stuck out at 9.6 forever, 99% of the time.
Right. Like a baseball card.
Yes,
like
and
at
like,
the corner.
Publishes a book on how to remove color breaks. That's maybe next year.
If you see any little white at the top or on the bottom,
yeah. We'll keep the restoration services in.
I was on a pod with Brian McClay, and shout out to Brian McClay. He got me into this whole podcasting thing.
Cool.
But he had Matt Nelson on, and I got a chance to talk to him backstage and live. And one of the most interesting things I asked him when you guys are grading books, do you ever come across a book that, it's got some defects, but it presents in such a way, like by your book, this book is, let's say, a 7, but it presents in such a way that you have to give it an 8? And he says, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So I think that was something that CBCS was doing with that check mark, which annoyed the shit out of me, because if you're going to give somebody a check mark, why don't you just give them the grade bump? You know what I mean? So I found that very interesting, and I wish I could have probed more with Matt as far as one of the things that he did offer was the reflectivity. Like when you go to the store and you buy a new book and it has that shine to it, like an older book, Silver Age bronze, if it still has that luster of off the shelf, like that's going to give you that bump. And I thought that was interesting.
We can put that shine on any book you point to.
I think I'm sure, Matt, it's interesting to hear, because I know in some cases from my studies it's been more also, if it has a full crease down the cover, say it's a subscription crease, but it's perfect otherwise, that's a 5.0 max at CGC, come hell or high water. And it could be perfect everywhere else. But so I'm sure there are some hard lines, but I bet it is more when it's the combination of, there's just these few things in this chip right there, but geez, it's gorgeous otherwise, and isn't that so many books we look at, this key is so awesome except that one thing somewhere, or
I think we've all come to figure out what the books are, what they'll come back as, you know what I mean? And I tell my clients, what do you think? And I go, I'm never going to guarantee what they're going to, I'm not grading it, but I always give a range, like I'd say 9.9 to 9.4, 9.2, 9.4 probably, but and that's what I tend to do. And I'm usually pretty accurate. I've seen so many of these darn things. So, and again, what you were saying, Red Hood, is that, you look at the whole book, it's in its entirety, right? Yeah, you might have issues here, but if the whole book presents so nice, sometimes it might tip the scale, and get you to that extra 0.5 you're hoping for, so yeah.
And what Doom Space Marine said is totally correct as far as I understood with the check mark on the CBCS books. It was like, it presents like a 9, but there's this one defect holding it at a 7. So it gives you this is a badass 7 check mark.
Man, that's a friend of mine. What's up, Doom? How'd you know I was on today, man? It's a good man. Let's see. I'm looking for any questions in the chat here. No, I'm married. Okay, let me see here. No, nobody asked that. I was just playing. Now just everybody welcome. This is my second show, so I didn't expect a lot of questions, So
Yeah, I'm just seeing that now. Thanks to Chris to clue me
Yeah,
in. I had the
exactly.
wrong
Oh,
chat.
there's chats over there. I was in the private chat. I didn't see all the other chats. Now I do.
Now I see it.
yeah, if you guys see something,
I'm looking for a question. I see one question. What are the next 3 best main tools to have for cleaner press? I assume you mean besides patience and time.
yeah.
Right. But I mean, besides the press, I mean, for me, I mean, I would say the dotting tools. I mean, basically, you got to have tools to hand press out dents. You need a reliable eraser suite. So different types and shapes for what you want of some preference. And then you need, for me, I mean, they are wipes and not disintegrating cotton rounds that leave fibers, introduce new fibers and threads to the surfaces of inked and static surfaces paper. But I buy lens wipes, microfiber fine lens wipes by the box, and I use the lens wipe, wrap it around my finger, and I can just go there and use my finger with the lens wipe around it. I use that quite a bit, and so there are many other tools, but I would say those are 3 I favor.
Do you guys, and this might be a stupid question, but like, you guys have multiple presses, right? Is there that one press, that magic press that, man, that's my baby?
Yep.
And if I'm gonna go down with this X-Men one, it's going in this bad boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. My Seal Jumbo 160. It's a single book press. I love that little thing. It just, I'll be honest, the smaller the press, I find the more consistent the pressure and just to get a better press out of it. All the big books go in there. That's my favorite. I love it. I love that little guy. I use it a lot. Yeah.
I've got even smaller seal than that, and it was my first press, the little itty bitty one with the mercury, the little mercury on top with the temperature.
Right.
And I thought that, like, whenever this was like 13, 14 years ago, man, and I thought I was king shit. And it was like, I could press 1 book a week, you know?
1 book a week.
And like those $high books, like when I need that magic grade, and I'll light a candle too, I'll put it in that sucker, and I'll like, I said, give me a couple of days, and then I'll pull it out, and like,
beauty.
More often than not, we've gotten some good grades out of that sucker. So that thing is going in my coffin with me, man. What about you guys?
We use the seals, but I mean, we use all types of presses. I just want to be clear, right? It does not matter to us what the press is, not one bit. All that matters is that our technique is running through it, and that it's introducing heat at a level that we can predict. Meaning when we set it, for whatever number we set it for, it's delivering what we expect. And then we use infrared temperature guns to measure the press after that. And so after that, we're just measuring it. So as long as it's delivering even heat to our temperature at our time and our environment, we know what our environment, humidity, and temperature
absolutely
is, then we are agnostic to the type of press that we use. But we do have to learn it. I mean, but ultimately it doesn't matter. There's all types of presses here.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, we have quite a few different brands and sizes, but there's one specific clamshell, which is a little bit of the older school seals. That's one that
they're good.
That's what I was talking about.
That's what you got right there. I know the exact model. They're nice. They're little. Yeah. They're good.
So
it's a baby press, bro.
Yep.
And then the Seal 210s are one of my favorites too, a little bit larger. Yeah. But I guess that seal is the one where I'm just like, okay, I'm going over here to this one, and I have a setup where I can change the pressure relatively easy. And that's the thing about those things.
That one is super easy.
When you graduate to the actual dry mount presses, you have to figure out your system to get just so you don't have to recalibrate all the time for different books. But yeah, that's my favorite, is that little clamshell.
Yeah,
you won't get a lot done, but for that one special book, it's
I like, me and Chris were talking, like, when we first met, we were talking about that Canto book. Like,
I got great results with Canto.
Yeah, that little press got out that damn Canto like issue, like, and now I know how to navigate, because it was such a different paper. Oh, there's my cat. I'm gonna press that cat. But it was so the paper was so unique, and I had that set at a way to where like I ain't gonna touch it. And I started writing notes and everything, like this is the Canto code right here. So, but yeah, man, it makes me feel good that we all have a go-to press. Like if you had to keep one press, that would be the press that you would keep. Like, so at least I'm not that crazy.
No, you're not crazy.
I still have the first one I ever bought, and it was funny. I was talking the other day, like, boy, this one, I have a real attachment to this as something that's just like material item. But I was like, man, I feel like I have a bond with this. But yeah, I still have that one, but it isn't my go-to anymore. It was just the one I started learning.
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
But it's kind of historic, you know, like I'm not a good plumber. I'm terrible at the lawn, you know, like I can't really fix anything. Like I'm not a carpenter.
I mean, I could put a shirt at my house in most cases.
I could press a book, you know. I can't iron for shit. You know what I mean? So, but you know, just luckily I had an opportunity to practice a lot on some LCS's books, and they would just hand me books. Yeah, practice on these, because I needed some specimens. You know, I needed some specimens to work and build my craft. You know, so you know that's kind of, and Kevin talked about, or it was Chris, about the amount of times that you're, you know, using the press, not just buying a press and maybe use it once or twice a week or whatever. You're talking like book after book after book after book, like it's a machine, like, you know. So, you know, I'm just glad that I had an opportunity to learn that way. So,
repetition, and you know, you figure out what you're doing, and you're and like Barry was saying, your style and your techniques do change over time, right? You figure a new thing. Hey, even Charlo and Newport at the shop will show me something. I never thought about trying it that way, and then we do it that way, and there you go. You work with each other, right? It's not all about, even other pressers like, Kevin, you ever try this? I'm like, no, I didn't try that. It's not a bad idea. I'll give it a shot. Nothing wrong with that. It's always good to change your technique, your methodology, right?
For us, it's simplification.
That's it.
The second we learn to skip something, that is genius.
Yes,
so
right.
Anything we don't have to do, any step we can. Now I may say, well, that might be careless, that might be sloppy. Now, actually, less is more with comics. I mean, the less you touch them and the less you do to them, the better off the books can be. Just depends. But ultimately, we may have lost our host here for a moment.
No, I'm killing this cat right now. I just don't want you to see it.
This clean and press break brought to you by Red Hood. Okay, great.
I don't want to be like Comic Tom. What's up, Comic Fam? With the cat, you know what I mean? They were like, Joe's changing. He's changing right before us. He's got his YouTube channel with a cat, just like Comic Tom.
Yeah.
Well, less is more on the pressing, but yeah, pets are wonderful co-hosts, so it's great.
Universe X had a great question. You know, it sounds like we're old school. Like, are we open to trying some new school things? Like,
we are. I mean, we've embraced the light and other techniques that have come on. Though we were doing it before, but there's new ways to do it. We've studied what's there. I'm not sure we agree with everything as written, and a lot of the writing is designed for people who are doing this on their own as a hobby with low budget equipment or accessible equipment readily available on Amazon through an Amazon Associates link brought to you by an author or two, and or things that follow a recipe. But anything that has a working principle, we try to adopt it right away. I mean, can we use it? Where could we use it? So yeah, we try to find the truth, that nugget of truth, and all these wonderful things people are praising, and adapt it as fast as we can.
The issue with these new techniques, and we're talking about obviously the page lightning and things like that, the blue lights and the different kind of washes and such. I think a problem, well, I don't know if it's a problem or not, but you got to consider, is it worth doing? How much time does it take to do this? I was talking to a guy I did the Toronto comic book show today. I was at the show all day today. I'm pretty tired, but they were asking about, well, what does it take? How long does it take to prep the book to get the light in the page? And one goes, well, I'll leave it in for a couple of hours, another couple of hours. And then they're going on and on. He's telling me his technique. I'm like, well, if you're charging $25 Canadian a book, then now I'm spending another 4 or 5 hours on it. What am I going to charge? Is it worth doing? When is it worth doing this? I mean, it can't be on a book that's worth $30. And I see a lot of guys doing it for $30 book. So like what Barry's saying, it's got to be, hobbyists, guys at home just playing with their own collections, which is fantastic. Go right ahead. It's your collection. But I mean, for pressers like us, is it worth doing if it's going to take 6 hours or 4 hours or 3 hours to additional work on a comic? And then what do you charge? And then is it worth it in the end? So like you, Barry, I think it's cool. New ideas are awesome. It's fun to research and try to integrate, but at the same time, when is it worthwhile doing? I think, but
for us, it's worthwhile doing if we do not have to wet the book or disassemble the book.
Yeah.
So those are the conventional ways of achieving a higher level of cleanliness.
Yeah.
And if we can get a high level of cleanliness without wetting or disassembling, it's worth trying. So for those out there who are thinking about it, that's what we strive for. The less we have to touch that book, God forbid we have to put it back together, and it was a 9.6 to start with. I mean, that's just, my hands, I can't hold my hands that still. So, we favor these techniques that minimize disassembly.
Would you consider spraying peroxide on it, wetting it?
I would consider anything.
I'm saying when you said you don't wet the book, I'm saying, do you spray peroxide on it to wet because that basically makes the book wet?
I'm not wetting the book, but I probably won't go into all the details about what.
Yeah,
we do,
don't give cornbread away, bro.
Yeah, I would, but I would say that.
How exactly do you do that, Barry? Let me get my pencil.
I just meant because I was just saying earlier before we started, I'm not totally sold on the peroxide with the lights, and to really get it to lighten up much, you need a little bit of the peroxide.
I just want to be clear: in the room that the comic is in right now, there is moisture, there is light, and there is hydrogen, and there is oxygen. I guarantee it. And so controlling it is like sous vide. You know sous vide?
Right.
Sous vide is very precise cooking. You put food in a plastic pouch,
and you
put it in water of a very, very specific low temperature, and you cook it to get flavors you would never get. And what we do is ultimately like sous vide. It is super, super mild, super, super controlled, super precise with the super, super right equipment and technique. And all we're using is the very same light, oxygen, moisture in the room, but we are changing it somewhat to meet our objectives. So all I can say is it is a high level of control. We spare no expense. We are going to do thousands of these things, millions.
Right.
I believe. I dream
of a
world of white comic pages, and I hope that there will be a uniform way to accept it one day. But pressing's still controversial, so. What are you going to do? And since CGC makes the rules, let's just be clear. Let's not kid anybody. You can't add anything to a book as the classic definition of restoration. But once CGC says conservation with leaf casting, where you add entire new paper to the book, is acceptable, it's just fine. And CGC, which has its own restoration team, best in the world, conservation team, best in the world, doesn't poo-poo restoration one bit. It's only the market that does, which devalues it. But yet still, I put stuff on the internet. And just this morning, I woke up 5:30 this morning, and I had somebody calling me like a liar and a scoundrel, and because I was daring to offer books that were whiter than when I started. So all I can say is that I'm less than a year on social media. I'm excited to meet. I wouldn't be here without it. The techniques are controversial, but the team who wrote the book did the most important thing they could do, which is to prove CGC cannot detect this if it's done well, and it gets higher grades than it used to. And after that, it's all about a responsible approach to conservation with a superbly managed environment in which to deliver it. And having a Bachelor of Fine Arts, Chris, I know you're an MFA, having an art degree and
what did you call Chris?
Yeah. Sorry, what'd you say, Joe?
What did you call Chris? MF what?
MFA.
Oh, okay.
He's a master of fine arts,
not a mother.
You guys are using big words, bro. I mean,
we're all art students, and I also have a Bachelor of Fine Arts.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, great. So we've got art backgrounds, and
all of us.
we're trained in art school to manipulate, to clean paper and manipulate it. I mean, I put chemistry on paper all day long in art school. We were taught how to do it. I mean, it's not, nobody's declaring it horrible. And you can see what it does to paper actually in original art pages. When you look at the stats and the paste up and the layouts for all these, you know, covers and splash pages that are now, you know, 50, 60 years old that are traded in the market, you can see where stuff gets brown or where glue or whatever changed the color. So, but ultimately chemistry and paper go hand in hand. And, you know, if you use it responsibly, you are a professional. You are not a hack. So I just find it very interesting what goes on in this world, but I'm just excited to be here nonetheless, let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean, this has been phenomenal. I'd love to have you guys on the show again, man. You know, I mean, this is something that I think the community needs. We're not going to tell you all the secrets and everything like that, but this way you get a perspective of, like, if you send your book to me, if you send your book to Kevin or Chris or Barry, like, we're going to do the very best to take care of you. You know, there's a billion books out there. Like, we can't do them, you know,
most of them have never been graded, much less pressed.
Mhm.
So the people who are doing CPR, the small cadre of, I would call professional hobbyists who I admire and respect. There's this larger circle out there of people, dealers who've been at it a long time and they don't press their books. I mean, they don't grade the books. They sell beautiful books raw, and they have great stuff. And then there's also the collectors who don't want to smell their paper. They want to flip through the books. And I celebrate that. So there's, for everybody, there's a presser. Yeah. For us, we're focused on the artistry of the paper we leave behind, whether it's in plastic or not. And that's what we engineer for. We're excited to keep doing it.
And Kevin, you're muted.
Kevin, yeah, we can't hear you.
You're muted, Kevin.
You have great body language, though, Kevin. We can almost read you. There we go. Can you unmute?
How do we unmute?
Joe,
him?
can you unmute?
Hello?
There we go.
Well, that's weird. No, I was saying that, I mean, going back to what you're saying, Barry, it was like when CGC first came about, I recall there was a uproar against it. How can you put these comics into coffins, they used to call them around here, right? And then, of course, when I first started pressing comics, and maybe you guys experienced this, I was getting hate mail for pressing comic books. People were, you shouldn't be, you know, doing that to the books. It's changing the books. But now, as soon as CGC started doing it, everything was okay, right? I get that. I get that 100%. So it's everything that's introduced that's new seems to be, not all the time, but sometimes attacked. Again, the page lightning thing, we're all debating about it. I mean, it is what it is. But a question I had for you, Barry, is, so if you got a book that's $15 a press, then what would you charge to lighten? Is that an additional fee, or is it just a part of the whole package?
No, we charge an additional fee, but I want to be clear, right? Like, because there's a lot of fear mongering around. Well, it's going to get restored. I am pleased to say I have Matt Nelson. I handed Matt Nelson a book, you know, at a conference. He was very kind to me. He did not have to talk to me. That I had lightened. I told him I lightened it. I handed him the book. I said, "Is this restored?" He looked at it, and I'm watching Matt actually grade a book right then and there. I learned lots. Yeah. But ultimately, he respectfully told me I'm inconclusive, which he didn't give me one thing. But the point is, I just read that as you really can't tell. What the authors of the books proved, and many people after who have tried, is if you get our hobby is about natural looking results, period.
That's right.
The people at CGC are smart people, but they're not geniuses. They are investigative journalists, reverse engineers, and they are looking at the clues and they're figuring out, you know, what does the blood spatter tell them? And so ultimately, you know, if you create something that causes no questions and raises no eyebrows, you are not going to get any guff. And so ultimately, we strive for a natural, seamless, uniform, smooth on both sides of the paper of the covers, for example. And so we charge more for that. So we charge an additional fee. It's not for $15 a book.
Okay,
but, I mean,
we
work with people on that to collaborate.
Well, for sure. So I mean, it's there for books that need it. Like, I mean, the value has to be there. Like everything else, it has to be there, of course. Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, a lot of guys are just doomed to every single book they've got. And it's like, well, why?
You can't, but I mean, the light, I mean, light is, I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, you can't, but controlled light is, I think, part of the future of pressing. I mean, ultimately, actually, technology is part of the future of pressing. Our whole hobby is getting technology infused. I've seen questions about AI grading, you know, CGC
going on.
relevant. I think they're going to do it in cards long before it happens in comics. Commercial, it's happening in comics. They're just not, I don't know, it'll get commercialized quick. But ultimately, I do think that technology, software, and AI, light management, moisture management, temperature management, pressure management, all that is going to continue to increase. And I think press technology will improve over time, and the form factors will change. So I do think that, you know, we're all going to benefit from technology over the next 10 or 15 years in terms of new things to adapt. I really do. I don't think it's just going to be hand skills, but let's be honest. Again, you need one pen to be Bernie Wrightson. You just need the genius to go with it.
10,000 hours.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Tons of practice.
If I can circle back to give my thoughts on that answer, I always do want to also learn new techniques, follow new techniques. I always use the analogy of someone that was a graphic designer in the mid 80s, and a computer came out and they said, I don't want to learn that computer. And then they ended up becoming an insurance man. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just the fact that they had to switch careers. So you have to keep up with technology. And I have had many questions about if I would lighten books with peroxide, and I don't now. I have learned how to do it, and people do get popped for it all the time because they go too far. And so I feel like you are restoring the book, because if they catch it, they'll bing it for purple. But obviously Barry is successfully doing it with his own techniques in his own house, basically. But I have had to write many paragraphs about, like, I'm never going to say never, but right now I'm going to wait because I'm not convinced on what the books will look like after peroxide has been sprayed on it in 10 years. But I'm not saying that's what Barry's doing either. You know, I'm just saying that's how the majority of the people, and that's what the books say, to lighten up paper, you know. So I always want to embrace new techniques. I'm just a little slow burn to this one, but who's to say I won't offer it, you know?
I agree with you too, and I just can't wait till we go off air, because Barry's going to show us exactly how he did it. Doesn't
Absolutely, man.
So
You guys,
$45 on Amazon. Go.
man, the after show is going to be wild, baby.
I have done it. I just don't know if I want it to be where I'm going to offer it to customers, because I don't think it's something I just want to go down that road. I mean, someone turned someone's X-Men 1 from blue to purple recently because they popped it for being they caught it for color cleaning, you know, and it specifically says bleaching covers is restoration.
I've been seeing that a lot more often too, and I think a lot of guys are being cowboys and they're getting out there and trying and be a little too aggressive, and that whole unnatural look, like Barry's saying, he's trying to get a natural.
It's not perfect. We haven't been perfect, but we do our very, very best, and we work with our clients to do it. Nobody, we don't do anything people don't ask us to do, for sure. And we all work together, and ultimately you can get, multiple tries gets the job done. I mean, it's like sitting here and saying I wouldn't marry tattoos into an ASM 238. Yes, you would.
No, what are you talking about?
You know, I mean, it's like my point is like, they used to let kids touch this stuff. We do our very best to get something that's dear and personal to somebody to the condition that they can continue to admire it, or if it's a dealer, the way that they can monetize it. And again, we're not always successful in achieving our clients' goals, but we do our absolute best. And we've gotten some extraordinary results. And those of you, again, I know you follow everybody, but if you're not following us at comic_presser on Instagram, I encourage you to do it. We post stuff 2 or 3 times a week. And I just posted a whitening, mold removal, wrinkle crease destroying, example. It's one of our best. Yeah. So, I mean, we are as surprised as anybody at the results. And so the results speak for themselves. We just have to keep trying. So we will. But if the CGC dings us, then we've learned. Thank you. That's what $20 to $40 or whatever is for. Thank you. Now we know. We'll come back and try it again.
Right.
Do you guys ever feel like CSI detectives? Like, what the hell happened to you?
Oh,
what is going on? Who hurt you?
Can I
looking at the staples? Who damaged you?
Can I say one thing about that? Okay, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I had a doozy recently come up where someone had pressed this book. It was like an Avengers 2, and you might have seen it on my social media, where it was a misaligned cover. Nothing wrong with that. Production flaw.
Oh, and they tried
staples were on the back about that far.
Oh.
So some other, maybe they called himself a pro or not, but some other presser had realigned it so the staples were on the edge. So then the back cover was about that far off. So I fixed it, but it was kind of like, oh man, someone thought they were fixing a spine roll and they created a spine roll, but it was fixable. But it also was a 12-year-old slab, so it had been in there for a long time. And the client actually said, well, there's no way that could have happened because no one was pressing books 12 years ago. And I said,
Bullshit.
I was. And I
They've been
know
pressing books
bullshit.
for 20, 30
See,
years.
that's what
More, longer.
classic collectible services were. Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they've been pressing for years.
And that's where the experience comes in. Like, you know that, and you know that was a printer defect, right?
Mhm.
I had a book sent to me, like somebody tried to remove the printer ink, which is noted by CGC that, you know, they understand you know you'll get a little flaw, but they try to remove it, and it's like, well, what do you want me to fucking do? Like do you want me to try and put more ink back on it? Like I don't know what you want me to do here.
Right.
Like, well, if you could just press it and make it look better. Well, bro, you try like like you poured bleach on it trying to get that ink off, and like I can't fix that, you know?
It's surprising. So like what you just said, Chris, I've had guys come to the shop and go, "Can you fix this spine roll?" I'm like, "It's not spine rolled. That's the way the book was made."
Right. Yeah.
And they just don't. And these are guys who've been collecting for years, and they just don't know, right? But I mean,
Actually, that's why, again, that's why we all cannot still add value. I think everybody, you know, we try, I'm sure you guys too, we take a consultative approach.
Sure.
A lot, you know, when people call me, I say, I want you to think of us as your asset appreciation assistants. And, you know, we are the racket of grading and the eccentricities of comic book manufacturing and again, the craftsmanship, pressing and cleaning. It's just so much to keep in your head. I mean, ultimately, we just try to focus on the goal of that person, and then what can we do to get you there? And many people, again, they really could care less about all the stuff we're talking about. They just want either they've been left the collection and they need to turn it into money. They want to leave the collection to somebody and they have to get it graded so it's easy for the next person to do something with, or they really have waited their whole life, you know, to get it cleaned up, and now they've come into the grading, you know, canon. They know, they get now a little bit about it, and they want to make sure they're doing it right.
the problem I see with all that is people want to get their stuff graded. I don't know. Again, I know, Barry, you're pretty. Your turnarounds are really good, as you said, and I don't know about you, Chris, but mine aren't fantastic. I'm trying to get things moving a little quicker, but people can be impatient and they'll take books to these professionals you were talking about, you know. And oh man, how many books I've fixed or repressed and these people have sent people's books out and got them graded, and they come back with terrible grades, and then I crack them out and redo them again. All this wasted money, all because they want to get it done fast, really fast. They want to turn around quick, and that's what's driving me crazy. I've seen that a lot. I don't know about down where you guys are, but up here, I'm seeing that so much. I don't want to call them backyard mechanics or whatever, you know. And I think it's great people press their own books. I think it's a fantastic hobby to get into. It's a lot of fun. It's very gratifying to see a book go from this to this, but then to offer your services and then ruin someone's book, and
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
I had a phone call from a guy that is always in the chats and on podcasts that I do, and he reached out to me, and I didn't know he pressed books at all, you know. And so he had a couple of successes. He had some grade bumps, and he was kind of, feeling his way. And if he's listening, I love you, bro. So like, don't get mad. But he was cleaning the first appearance of Kang. I forgot which one it is. 8, number 8, right? He tore it. And he took a picture of it and sent it to me. And he goes, "I'm so sick right now." And I figured, like, holy shit, like, what is going on? So I called him, right? And like, "Are you okay, bro?" And he was like, "No." And you could tell he was hurting. And like, man, I wish I had the powers to fix that book for him, man. But like I don't know how to leaf cast or anything like that, but man, this is something that takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of practice. Like my heart, I felt for him because, like, you know, luckily that's never happened to me. Never.
It's happened to me. I take
I've
it
never
personally.
torn a book.
We went from doing very little to doing hundreds of books a week. I mean, and so there's no such thing as a defect-free process. Every process has variation. We get tears. I mean, it happens. There's just no question about it. And I take it personally. I have a weekend where I can't even talk to anybody because I feel so bad about it. But we try to stay in good communication with the clients, be professional about it. We fix stuff. I mean, we have had to turn books into a conserve. If there's a tear, you cannot do anything other than seal. We seal the tear very, very minimally, and we work with someone to get the blue-gray label. We still don't have a purple label, but in most cases, it just doesn't happen. But when you're dealing with such a high volume of books of fragile paper, but we take it personally. But ultimately, we've learned to communicate variation well with our clients, to try to be professional about it, offer discounts or refunds if there's a serious problem, which has been very rare, extremely rare now. But ultimately, we can't guarantee grades of CGC either. So it's just a matter of communication. But I feel the stress every time I introduce a defect. It does happen.
You guys, get submissions from like tons and tons of submissions. Like you guys have websites, and like I've always like stuck to like clientele. I've got a good sized clientele now where I got a steady stream of books coming in. But I can only imagine the types of books you guys see on a daily basis. I mean, I can only imagine like the Silver Age, Golden Age.
I wish I could show you guys this
6,000 copies of Secret Wars 8. Sorry, go ahead.
I got about a few of those today at the show. I got about like 7 of those submitted, but yeah, I've got a batch I'd love to share with you. Some guys don't want their books showcased, right? So I don't showcase them, but I wish I could. They're so nice, and they're so old. They're gorgeous. No.
Do it. They'll never know.
No, he'll know. These are big books. These are really big books.
Are they afraid that we're going to put some bad juju on their books?
No,
if we look at
it's not that, because dealers.
It's been pressed.
Not yet.
Oh yeah.
I don't think everyone books are pressed. I mean, that's no issue. But
that used to be a problem.
Well, 100% it was. Yeah, it definitely was. Like I said, I was getting hate mail. Asshole, why are you doing this? You should be pressing books. So I was getting that seriously when I first started. It's crazy. Then within 6 months, that was over, and I was getting like 200 submissions every other week. It was crazy. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun to get these crazy awesome books. Chris, you've had a lot of good ones too, and I follow you on Instagram too.
I used to get hate mail even before I started pressing books.
Ex-girlfriends and
you name it, man. I got stories, man. Hey, Chris, you had a book you wanted to show that.
Oh yeah, this was an interesting one. Just because we were talking about rare books that we've done, and I bumped to Superman #3. I just didn't get great photos sent back to me, so I bumped some really old school stuff. But this one just came in.
Ooh.
Time Magazine #1 from 1923. So I've pressed quite a few books from the 40s. Not much of anything from the 20s. But yeah, that's definitely a rare gem to come across.
Are you guys doing magazines as well? Are you seeing more magazines come in than you used to?
Lots of.
Because I'm getting a lot of magazines.
I had a 200 book submission from Chicago, Sports Illustrated, and then I got another 100 books from Boston, and another guy in Toronto just gave me another 50. Magazines are starting to get really, really hot. And I'm not happy about it because they're not as much fun to press as a comic, like my comic books, right? I'm a comic guy. So,
on the Sports Illustrated, you got to be the business reply cards in there. There's just a lot of stuff stuck in those magazines. Track, make sure they don't fall out.
Yeah, lots of Vampirellas lately for us too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Fooms. We've been having quite a bit of Fooms come in.
Yeah.
You guys want to see?
I'm like, I want a Foom. What's that?
You guys want to see something crazy? So I got a submission, and I don't care if he sees it or not.
I'm sorry. I told him I wouldn't show. I wanted so badly, but I can't.
So I got
nice
Thundercats, right?
Awesome classic from my era.
Yeah, mine too. And you notice all the pressers except for one have white beards, gray beards.
Yeah,
that's why I have to shave.
What's that?
I was a brunette before I started.
No, this is 25 years of teaching right here. Right?
Hold on, you guys are gonna love this. Hold Thundercats.
Nice.
Oh, there's the Ghostbusters in here.
Are these just back?
No, I'm good. I've got to crack them.
Crack them, good.
Crack-a-lacka.
Thundercats. Thundercats.
I'm gonna raise you 1 Secret Wars 8 for each Thundercats.
Thundercats.
Awesome.
Is there a movie coming or something? What's going on with these
Man,
Thundercats?
oh, but somebody's
Specking.
he's going all in.
Yeah.
These
Oh,
Star
enough
Comics, we're getting a
animation.
lot of the whole Star Comics family. I'm not Silverhawks and Care Bears, and I'm not sure what exactly is. I guess the 9/8s in those are just
Big money.
right now they were hard to come by.
I think they definitely have
Thundercats.
Thundercats.
Random.
Oh yeah.
I
But
hate
Got like
I
15
can't
more
stand Marvel Team Up
Thundercats in here.
141.
nice. That's a
I
real
hate
fan
Marvel
there.
Team Up 141. It's one of the. I don't like pressing that book. It's not a fun book to. I don't know.
No. Mm-mm.
That purple. Nah.
Yeah.
Finger bends and wrinkles in that are just as bad as they are on the back of an ASM 300. It's just lots of
Not a fun book.
easy to see the problem.
But let me tell you, like, I've got 25 Thundercats. That's not fun.
No, it's boring.
You,
It's
you
boring.
know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Funny.
I got one time. Guy gave me 50 copies of Infinity Gauntlet #1. 50 copies.
That's a lot of black cover there. Yeah,
And it was
a
awful.
lot of wiping.
You know, Wilbur Comics is in the chat.
Boring.
He must have given me 50 Ultimate Fallout 4s to press, bro.
Cha-ching
What's up,
for him.
Wilbur? Hey, have you guys pressed that book before?
Oh my God, yeah. Let's get rid of that polybag crease one more time, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna show off a little bit. One of my clients gave me the 1 in 25 variant. You know the one.
Yeah.
9/8 baby. It's coming back.
Oh,
Nice.
good for you,
you.
man. That's awesome, dude.
$40,000 book, man. I was like, what? I knew it was a big book, but I didn't know it was that big. I'm like,
I put on my IG a video of me unboxing a 9.6 Ultimate Fallout 4, and you could hear me like.
they're so easy to press. They press out so nice, though, don't they?
They do.
If you do it right,
They do.
they come out. Like
I haven't gotten a heavy polybag crease on that book. I don't know. I mean, everybody talks about the crease on that book, but most of the
Really?
time I get to see Ultimate Fallout 4. I don't really see a significant polybag crease on it. Maybe I'm missing something. We've done
It's
okay.
just all the people that happen to
Right
leave
down
them in
the
the
middle.
bag, and then especially if they were laying in
Yeah.
a pile, but even in a box. So maybe you're getting lucky, and it's people that actually read it or took it out and didn't keep it in
Yeah.
that poly bag.
I see. Okay, yeah. Same with the Midnight Suns books. I mean, we get a bunch of those.
Oh man, like I same customer sent me a whole shitload of Midnight Suns, man. Like I was like, oh, like I like to experience like the different books. And oh wow, you know, maybe I didn't like because I collect too. Maybe I really didn't consider like this is a pretty book, you know. So, but yeah. You guys have anything else? I got a question. What is y'all's favorite book to press that you've done it so many times and you it's comfortable to you? Oh, okay, I feel good. Like this is a book I know inside and out. Like, do you ever have that feeling with a book?
Hulk 181. I
Yeah.
press it out beautiful.
Yeah.
More often than not.
Batman Adventures 12. I mean,
Another
that
one.
the paper on that book is just lays
Easy.
very nicely.
It's made for pressing.
Yeah.
That paper.
Yep. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 always presses it so nicely. Any of the versions, the printings, that's a good one too.
A lot of mid Silver Age Marvels it's sometimes it's the few times I can get a one and done press because we have to press lots of books multiple times. I'll look at it and I'll let it rest for a full day, and I'll look at it the next day and see what kind of work it needs again. And sometimes those I've thought, man, sometimes should I just say that's what we're focusing on because it really can kind of be like it's done and out the door. But of course, playing, and you know what, ASM 129 is such a tricky one to me because we press them all the time, but that particular paper likes to revert a little bit. So you got to look at it. I always look at it the next day and see what we need to do. But but not those old early Fantastic Fours. I mean, I press them a whole lot, but those are ones you have to be so.
The ink can smear and the reds are fugitive. You get the red too warm and it's orange. You have to be very, very careful with those.
You guys ever find autographs inside the book your
All the
customer
time.
didn't know about?
Sure.
Yep.
Always fun.
Yeah, finding a Jack Kirby's really nice.
Oh my God.
man.
That's awesome. I've
That's
never
really
found
cool.
a Jack Kirby, but I've found quite a few.
Oh, I found a few of them. Yeah, I like. See, guys don't like store stamps. I love store stamps.
I love
And
store stamps.
And I like kids. I like kids' signatures too.
Mm-hmm.
And I will look up people on Facebook. And I've got through to two. That's my book, and that's pretty awesome.
You don't know me, but you drew a PP on the Batman.
So that this book is starting to get hot right now. It's Black Man. It was a #1. It was a low print run. Okay, so I've been in the comic game a very long time, since I was like 8 years old, and a guy submitted that book to me with the store stamp of the shop that I worked at, my uncle's shop.
Cool.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to drop all these other pressings right now. I gotta do this right now.
That's nostalgia.
Yeah,
Because I could have fucking pressed that. I mean, I could have stamped that because that's what I did. I bagged and board.
that's cool.
I was the like bag and board all these, but that's all I did like for a summer, just bag and board and put boxes together. And
The dream job.
that was a thing, you know, and it was work. That was for sure. But I saw that stand, and man, it was like a time warp. It was unbelievable. It was I live in Texas. I live in Corpus Christi, Texas, and so the guy that sent me is Austin, and I go, son of a bitch, what are the odds, man?
That's great.
That's when you know you're going through a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
One of my clients actually gave me Wayne. He lives close by, but I was doing a stream once. I kind of dropped what grade school I went to. And then a week later, he goes, I got something for you. He comes to the shop and he has, I don't know, I forget if it's like Gold Key, but it was a Tomahawk comic. It was like a cartoon comic, probably not very politically correct comic by today's standards. And nonetheless, I open it up.
Those.
Yeah. You open it up, and there's my old grade school right there. I'm like, oh my God, stamped. Library at St. Thomas Aquinas. I'm like, and I would have been there at that time. That was pretty cool, man. Here's a comic that was at the school when I was at the school in the library, and I had it survived till today. So I thought it was pretty neat. Yeah.
I have so I'm originally from Chillicothe, Ohio, small town, 22,000, Ohio. So at some point, Stan Lee tells a story when they asked him, why do you use the location in Chillicothe, Ohio so often in your comics? And he said during World War II, he had a flat tire there and they had the rubber shortage, like you couldn't just get rubber because of the war. So he met someone and her dad could help him get a tire because he was in charge of all that in town. So anyway, I haven't seen one of these Chillicothe, Ohio. Meanwhile, in Chillicothe, Ohio, yet in the Silver Age, but there was enough of them that he talks about it in an interview. So sometime I'm going to put up like $100 pressing reward bounty for whoever can track it down. I need to just do that on social media for fun sometime.
That's cool.
Are there two L's in Chillicothe or one?
Two.
I didn't even know there was an L.
Chillicothe.
Oh, okay.
Kind of.
I went to Miller High School. Shout out to my English teacher. Hey, what's up? Man. So, you talked a little bit about the future, Barry. Like, ultimately, where do you see us 10 years from now? Not us personally, but the hobby and pressing. Where do you guys? And it's kind of like roundtable now. Like, where do you guys see pressing and the hobby in general in 10 years?
Well, I would say the pandemic changed the game. The backlog that the majors experienced in pressing as well as others, that's what inspired me to get involved. I'm trying to create the world's best comic pressing brand. I don't know if I will. And I don't know if pressing is the right word for it. Let's call it comic value management. But ultimately, but to do it from the point of view of conservation, the point of view of basically expert conservation, scalably applied so that you can get it just basically like a dry cleaner. And so, when my friends ask me what I do when I talk about this this is not my own business. When I talk about this business, I talk about it as, it's a dry cleaner for collectibles. And ultimately, I think the point is right now it's a very low barrier to entry in pressing. That's kind of what we talked about earlier. Anybody can do it. You buy a book, you buy a $200 press on Amazon, you buy an eraser, and it's wipes and you're in the game. Ultimately, what will happen is the customers will soon hopefully be able better distinguish between good and great, and they will choose great, or they'll be willing to pay more for it, or greatness will reach them for an even lower price at a higher quality or reliability. So I do think that getting the physical will get increasingly rare as digital collectibles and digital items grow. And I think that the physical, preserving physical collectibles is a growth business, and we're in it for the long haul. And I think that over time, technology, marketing, and reputation will help distinguish one from the other in such a way where you don't have to go to a captive presser, at the grader necessarily. And I'm not just, they have their own value, but ultimately you'll be able to, as a customer, there'll be more smart customers out there who know the difference and want better or more reliable and are willing to pay for it. That's what I see in the future.
Kevin, what about you?
Well, I don't think comics are going anywhere soon. I think things have slowed down a little bit. That big COVID, like you mentioned, the COVID bubble happened. The COVID craze was certainly there. But prior to the COVID craze, business was very booming, and it was a very healthy business. It felt really fun to be involved. And even the movies were really hitting on all cylinders. They were great, right? Right now, COVID ends. The market's dropping, interest rates are going up. It's a very strange place right now. I'm still very busy, but things are kind of in a weird place. And where's it going to go? I think there's going to be a need for pressers. There's going to be a need for CGC and our collectibles for sure moving forward. I think that the powers that be, the owners of these IPs, these properties, are not going to let people forget them. If the MCU crashes, then the next one's going to be rebooted within so many. There's always going to be that interest there. So I think it's safe to jump into this hobby. I don't know. I think it's going to continue to grow. I mean, as for pressers, I kind of go with Barry. I'm trying to create a company that's very user friendly, and that's honest, and I think, like you said, I think we will be here in several years, and I think others will fall by the wayside. Those that are, the ones who want to get the quick buck and that sort of thing. And yeah, it's a very fun hobby. I mean, here I go rambling. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but I got into this. I'm a collector first and foremost. I love comics. I love toys. I've got lots of Star Wars toys. I'm a big kid, and I've always been a big kid. My sensibilities and what have you, and it's a lot of fun. And so, I enjoy it, and I hope it gets. I was at a show today in Toronto, and it was just a very strange atmosphere. It was just a little different than it was a year ago, and I think people are very trepidatious and very nervous about the hobby right now because of the market and what have you. But I don't think it's going to affect us per se, but I think it might scare some people away. I think, and I don't know. I hope it does. I hope people find their way back. That's all. I don't know. So I love it so much, right? So, and it's a lot of fun. So,
what about you, Chris?
I think part of what Kevin said was the main thing I was going to focus on was the whole, so many about people that will fall to the wayside in the next 10 years. There are the people who have the brick and mortar stores, and there's fantastic ones that don't. But I think so many people have started to press, and they're going to lose interest after a while because it is like, I didn't have time to do that this weekend. Oh, and you know what? I've had this for 5 years now. I'm just going to send my books off and have someone do it so I can get them back in X amount of time from that presser. And also, this has happened to a couple industries over COVID. Everyone's making more money in a specific area, so they invest all this money in this area, if it's video games or comics. Then COVID is over, people are going outside again and doing more things, but they've already invested all this money in this area. As the market starts to drop off some, that's going to catch some people too that went in too hard too quickly, I think. But I do still think it's going to be awesome in 10 years, and we will all be here, and there will be many people just starting up that will still be here. But I think there'll be plenty of people that have dipped their toes in and will be out long before that 10 years is over. And same with me. I've always been a comic fan, worked at a store through high school. I just finished my X-Men and ASM run clear back to #1 in December of 2019 after 30 years of spending every time I could find. I always joke that I didn't eat a lunch from like 6th grade till I graduated high school because I saved my $2 a day. So I'd have $10 at the end of the week for the comic shop. And then COVID blew up, and I was like, thank God, I got that for $600,
And now it's for 12.
back down. But you know what else though? Yeah, the market blew up and it's correcting, but then it's just going to slowly be that solid investment again. I think we all know and believe that. So it may take a while to get back to some COVID prices, but eventually they will, because it's still a heck of an investment, especially for the long-term people that truly believe in it in our families.
That's a lot of fun. It is.
You know what I think, guys? Okay, so during COVID, a lot of people that didn't love books or anything like that, they were investing. They were paying big money, and they drove these prices up. And that they were in a place where, you know what, I'm just going to get rid of them. Fuck this hobby.
Yep.
And they dumped them, on eBay. And then the collector sees that, oh, the books are going down. No, not really. You had people that really weren't in it for the love of the hobby, and just dumped and said, you know what, I'm out. And then we look at those prices. Well, that book is worth this now because a guy dumped his book, so now we're going to go with that price.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. But that's why, comics have always been this way, the ups and downs. I just wish Marvel was Marvel. I don't know what happened, and
Disney happened.
Yeah, and that's clearly hurting the hobby. But with DC on its way, I mean, I feel like we're getting back to that energy that we've needed for a couple of years.
Yeah,
honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully they nail it. That Flash trailer. I don't know if you guys have noticed any
freaking awesome
additional DC book submissions.
Oh yeah, of course.
But
like crazy. DC's
more
going
so
crazy.
than ever. So,
and that Flash trailer was bonkers good. I'm like, oh no, and then they cancel it. They're killing it. It's like it's such a good. It's such a heartbreaker, but whatever. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm a big film buff too, right? So I love going. I went to Ant-Man last week, and I was like, it was okay, but it wasn't great. It was all right.
It didn't offend me. I was okay with it.
Yeah, I was okay.
I would just say Hollywood is constructively lazy. And
so
because we can rely on them tapping the stories again, I mean, even just recently there was a DC quote that there's 80 years of stories stuck in the books. Or maybe it was Disney, but the point is that that's right. We can rely on them to monetize the IP and the stories, and so. Yeah, we've already created nostalgia, at least in our kids, right? And it's the next set that has to do it. Yes, my kids are like, Dad, the book smells funny and the characters don't move. I think I'll play the game. But hey, I need money for the weekend, so sure, I'll take your lousy pictures and post them on eBay so I can get the heck out of here. Pay me now. So I mean, whatever it gets you to talk to your kid, I mean, whatever it does, it's still worth it. So for me, pressing time is actually family time. It's something people can talk about. I can show them my pictures. The before and afters we're able to produce in this profession are wow enough to get people talking to us, to each other. So it's exciting, I think, to make a positive changes on a daily basis that are both artistic and valuable. And so I think that the hunger for that will not change. And social media perpetuates that in a positive way, actually. And so I'm optimistic that this will continue for quite a while.
You know what, Barry? You speak extremely well. Like, I wish I could had that type of vernacular. Where did you go to school? Where did you go to school, man?
Rodeo Clown College.
He's got a fine art degrry. We all do.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Except me,
and I'm an MBA too.
Oh, there you go. The MBA did it.
Yeah.
My point is, but again, I love the connections, and actually, I live vicariously through other people's comics now. So actually, I don't feel like I have to buy anymore. I just get to fondle someone else's gently for a little bit, Anyway, it's that glass surface like this, only like this, all hands above the table. But seriously, but being able to explore the page as an art person, I like comics for the art. Getting inside those books. Seeing those hidden pages, understanding how an artist made sacrifices to get that panel drawn, to show that perspective, to compose that scene. Those are very hard decisions those artists make. I could never be the artist those people are. I'm only writing with an eraser. I'm hatching my way to invisibility. But I really like these books, and I really like, getting inside them. So yeah, for me anyway, I appreciate your compliment. I just it's inspirational to do what we do.
I just thought of, and this just came into my head, the evolution of the comic slab. Because more labels, we need more labels like Star Wars labels and things like that. I think that would encourage more people to get their books pressed. Honestly, the Deadpool sticks out with me. 9.9, please.
The Hobgoblin.
Absolutely. So, but and I don't know if it's Disney, right? If they have Marvel characters, they should be able to get the rights to. And I didn't have a chance to ask Matt Nelson about the oh, yes, I did, but he was kind of vague on the answer. But I think that the evolution of those labels and maybe a different way of, I don't know how you can make a slab look better. I'm sure you could. I kind of like CBCS's newer slabs because
they put a lot into that.
It seems a lot more.
Except if you really are that good, why not put your phone number on your website?
Yeah,
CBCS has common issues. I get calls all the time. People cannot reach CBCS by phone. Hey, CBCS team, if you're out there, we like you, we respect you, we value you. Please let us reach you by phone.
No,
and they changed their address without telling anybody.
Done.
So what'd you say, Kevin? I didn't catch
I gave up on them. I gave up on them for that reason alone. They would never call you back. When they used to have their phone number on there. They'd never call you back.
They're drowning. They've had a lot of leadership changes.
Of course.
Their parent companies changed. But they are talented people there who add diversity to an otherwise very captive market. And so we need them, I think. And so all I can say is that they provide a valuable service. We use them for signature, verification. I think is one of their most unique and valued offerings in the comic space, besides the sharp eyes over there. But yeah, it's a small team.
It's a shame. And when they first announced, when they announced CBCS's, launching years ago, I was very excited because I don't want to see any company. It's always good to have competition. I love competition. It's good. Keeps you honest and it keeps things interesting. But man, they can't even answer their phone or get back to you. They sent a client's book to the wrong address twice. And I was like, okay, I can't spend the time on this. I can't spend time dealing with your incompetence, whether they're understaffed or not. And I had to give up on them. I wish I love that signature verification just like you do, but no, done.
Customer service is still a growth opportunity for them. That's
damn right. Damn right.
Do you see anybody on the vergence of maybe giving the big two taking away some market share from them?
The EGS team is trying to create a different type of product with raw grades and with design your own slab. So it's not the same. But I've noticed there's the Halo group in Australia. They have no other options there. I've seen several Halo graded books online. It's inevitable. I just want to be clear, right? Grading, that's why they have to keep doing it. Even the brilliant, wealthy, and talented people at Heritage were once grading and authentication in their own right, as I understand it. Before they end up being great at this. So great at this is where they went, but. I just think that ultimately CGC is got $500 million more than the next person on any given day. So it's going to take quite a while for trust to happen. It's funny because a lot of people talk about CGC as if they don't trust them or they can't be relied on or whatever. But ultimately, it is still that brand of trust is the most valuable brand in the world for now. So it'll be hard to supplant it. But I do think there are niches that people can occupy over time. I do.
Take an incredible amount of capital to go up against them at this point, right? So
it would be extremely hard for anyone to even get close to CBCS. And I'm rooting for CBCS also because I think it's great to have two companies, but also I'm a CGC dealer and facilitator. So I'm a huge CGC fan. In many ways, I almost feel like I work for them and represent them in some ways, especially as a facilitator on a facilitator level, which is one reason I haven't really said anything negative about them at all also tonight. But I think we send 95% of our books straight to CGC.
Yeah.
The occasional could go back to your client. We'll send it anywhere you want, but we do send some to CBCS, and people ask me my opinion all the time, and I give them, my true and honest opinion, and I think they both have a lot to offer. But the thing we send most is basically it'll be like 15 CGC books and 1 signature verification to CBCS. So we'll split it up, and 15 will go this way and 1 will go this way. And when you said about the label, if you were actually asking about how we think the label would evolve, it would be interesting to see it be the next it'll be the characters I imagine, but it'll be, it's going to be more of the 90s hologram style. You know how they just have the CGC hologram right now? I can see that happening sometime, maybe even clear on the back. And also how 3D televisions are happening more often where you don't need glasses. In 10 years, will there be something where the back of the label or the front of the label is 3D and you don't need glasses, like an extreme hologram? Surely in 20 years that'll exist.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Maybe something digital, cool. Right? Something digital on the slab. I don't know. You would have to change out the battery, but something digital.
You press a button, it lights up or something.
You can buy
that's another problem in its own right.
Subscription increase.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to slag CGC either, but there's some pet peeves there. You know what? I don't care if they hear it. They should hear it. Because we support them. Like I solely do CGC, and I do speak very highly about them to my clients. But there's some pet peeves as a facilitator. As a facilitator, actually, I became a facilitator recently. I think you did too, Chris. But I did as well. Right. And I contacted them regarding setting up, any advice on how to get, talent. There's some guys in Toronto I know personally. I can invite them. But if I want to get bigger American talent, no help. They don't good luck to you. Go. So there's no advice there, which I thought was kind of, you want me to be a facilitator, but yet you don't want me to, you don't want to give me advice. I found guys who can help, but it's very difficult to get talent. I found. I don't know if you've tried to organize anything. I have. I spoke, with Jim Stranko on email, very nice guy, and worked some things out. Didn't work out, but I was able to find him on my own. But it'd be nice if CGC said, "Here, try this." There was no help in that regard. So I thought it was kind of,
The tricky thing about those private signings too, and I'm just getting the ball rolling in many different areas, but when I sent some stuff away to one of my all-time favorite artists and creators a year or two ago, they had the books for a year. So it wasn't the facilitator's fault, but I know they were just losing their minds because they were kind of at the mercy. So I know whenever I go into a plane like that, we'll hopefully have some type of contract that says this would be a 3-month window, X, Y, or Z,
Yeah, you got to really dot your I's and cross your T's. Yeah. That's for sure. But yeah.
Well, CGC created this market. Whatever they did, it has worked. The market has accepted it. And most of my books are ungraded, but we send most of our books to CGC, as Chris has said. Yeah, if I have a negative thing about CGC, it's going to be a situation. In this situation, I had this problem. There's really no general problems I have with CGC, but I understand that the reliability of grades are tough, and they do have some interesting policies that don't make sense. And again, I would say my biggest, if I had a pet peeve with them all, it's just the lack of graders notes on many. And I understand the scale they work, especially for stuff that's almost perfect. Maybe you don't have to say anything. I get that. But at like 9.2 and below,
should have something.
Not have notes there. It's really surprising there. But like I said, the CGC has made something out of nothing. And they've invented this entire category. And we're lucky, I think, to have the uncertainty. Again, uncertainty breeds opportunity. And I think that's why we still get to be here and help people out. So praise to everybody, even though it's a little bit buzzy.
One thing I appreciate, Matt Nelson, he makes himself very accessible, and he'll be as transparent as possible. And
he was kind to me.
I haven't talked to a president of any other company other than mine, so
Steve Borach's been very kind to me too, I will say.
And I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've never had a chance to meet him, but
he's no longer at CBCS, right? He's out.
No, he's just moved to Comic Link.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I read that. Okay.
And he had one other stop at
He was at my
Wasn't he
comic
at
shop.
Heritage for a while?
For about
He
a
was
year
at
and a half.
Heritage. He was at my comic shop. I think again he was in Dallas or in Texas doing great things, and now I understand he's gone back home to Florida with his family, and he deserves it. I mean, whatever he and the other top graders, Matt Nelson, I'm sure too, during COVID. I mean, they probably, while everybody else was at home, they still probably had to come into work every day going through mountains of books with fewer and fewer people around them. I can't imagine. I can't envy them at all in that respect. So, I mean, they really did keep it together, I'm sure.
I will give Barack Steve Borak some kudos, because when I did have that problem and no one was calling me back, I think it was San Diego. I forget what show he was at. I found him on Facebook and I reached out to him. I have no other, I can't get a hold of anybody. I reached out to him on Facebook Messenger and he got back to me within 15 minutes. So I got to give him that. And they said, they're going to contact you. It's going to get taken care of. And then they mailed it to the wrong address again, but still he did try.
Oh man, the second time I bet that was just so rough.
Oh my God. It was, I was going in for kidney stone surgery that morning, I remember. And it was just, I got out of the surgery, I come home I'm barely able to, and I go in and see the tracking. I go into the FedEx tracking and it's going to somewhere in like outside of Niagara Falls somewhere. I'm like, what the hell? Second time round. What's going on? Anyways, yeah, it was pretty nightmarish, but
you know, that made me think about, last summer I was on a family vacation in Key West, my wife and my son and I, and everyone needs more vacations. You know, I was really due for one, as I'm sure everyone is.
yeah.
And I have not had much blowback, fortunately. You know, I try and make everyone happy, and I'm fair and I'm honest. And it was the first day of vacation, and we were half an hour for going out for our first family dinner, and someone tagged me on Instagram and said, I just want to make it known that the comic book presser may have taken my centerfold out of
your Batman 181, right?
Yeah.
It hit me too. That person first came to me with that, because again, to the people on this call, you see Chris and I have similar names. Yeah, I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
So I didn't freak out because, hey, we're professional and it's customer service, but I didn't even hide him or block him. I wanted everyone to read his comment and then read my comment. And I said, I am a business that thrives on trust and honest hard work. And the last thing anyone would ever do would risk a relatively successful business if I'm proud of what I've developed here for a $300 book centerfold. Why would I take the time to do this and send it back? So I politely got back to him about this, and then other people were suddenly like, and I also said, I wish you would have contacted me
privately
and before you even. So then he just deleted it and moved on. But I had to. I was explaining, I'm not someone just like, I'm a business. There is no way this would ever happen, and also the reputation we all have is why people come to us. So I've never had anyone question any honesty, and that was just so out of the blue. But sorry, it made me think of it because
I'm sorry you had to go through again. He contacted me, and all I said to him is, I don't know who you are. I'm like, I can't possibly have taken that. Maybe it's a different presser, but I will. I just to build on Chris. I mean, because I'm new. I'm the new guy here in terms of dealing with the public, and so I've gotten. We scale quickly, so we've gotten our fair share of feedback. Most of it's been positive. But somebody got to me and said, "Oh, this book came back restored. There was a corner taped on." He's like, "You taped the corner on. You restored my book." And I said, my simple thing point to him, I said, "We're business too," but I didn't say that. I said, "Why would I restore your book for free?" I'm like, what are you thinking? I'm like, what makes you think I would just go and fix it and not charge you for it? I'm like, you must be.
I'll be right back, guys.
No problem.
Okay.
Plus,
we are businesses. We have to be transparent, reachable, and have integrity. No question. And we're doing our very best in an industry which, again, frankly, lives on the fear of malfeasance, as a basis for doing business. So, Chris, I'm so glad you're able to get yourself out of that like a gentleman. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thanks. It was just so crazy because I was like, of course. We're going out for dinner right now, and it blew my mind. So I was like, stop everything. I need to sit here and send this text. And my family knew this is important to me, so it was just a bummer. And I wanted to vent, like, do you realize I'm on vacation and I didn't do anything wrong? But see, we sent it to a signing, and so did he not have it when he sent it to me? Did something happen at the signing? It went through various chains of custody. But yeah, once I explained to him that I'm not in a business to do anything like that, it was okay, I guess.
It does happen. I had a couple other things like that where somebody says, one person said, "You ruined my book," and of course, before after pictures. I'm like, "Have you seen have you seen the subscription crease on the back of this book?" And he didn't. It was and actually he was very apologetic. Apologized to me maybe 2 or 3 times. I got emails from him over the next several weeks, and we developed a rapport. I mean, it's tough. It's we deal with, it's an emotional connection these people, we all have with our books and our craft. And yeah, I mean, ultimately I try to tolerate it, but it's no question. People can, if you do not deliver, people expect only good things in what we do. Even as difficult as it is, it's very challenging to not deliver for somebody.
I sometimes compare us to like a wedding coordinator, because everything has to be absolutely perfect. And everything for us has to be absolutely perfect. And those are, I don't know how I think of that, because on that day, if everything isn't perfect, people are losing their minds.
Actually, and I'll build on that. At one place I get tips is on seamstresses who have to treat white fabric. Actually, getting a stain out of a wedding dress day of is an art form in itself. And actually the chemistry and the moisture management and the pressing that goes on to take treating wedding dresses, just as a hint to all on the call, that is actually a great place to look for insights.
That's cool.
When people like send books in, like sometimes their eyes are lying to them. Like they just don't want to admit that some of these defects are there. That's why I take a lot of videos and a lot of pictures. As soon like I'll do an unboxing so that they can see. Like you guys get so many submissions because of your website. So because I have a certain clientele, I mean I'm able to do it that way and be more interactive with them. But how do you guys approach that? If you see hey, this has got a tear. Hey, do you like take pictures? Do you video a conference? Do you Zoom or anything like that to maybe discuss something? Hey, would you like me to proceed? Because if I do, this cover could become detached. What do you guys think?
Yeah, if I see something in a book that's a worry, then I will contact the client. If I see colored touch, or if I see like a tear, or the potential, if the book is extremely brittle, or there's tons of what do you call it? Not fungus. What do you call it? The
mold.
Thank you, mold. If it's on the inside cover, they couldn't see it on it. I'll let them know what I find, of course. But generally speaking, I tell people it's due diligence, right? You need to look at your books over before you hand them to me. I'm getting hundreds of books in every week. You're the collector too. And I mean, if you're giving me a Secret Wars 8, that's Barry's favorite book, and it's going to come back a 7 because there's multiple problems with it.
That's a $4 book after that, right?
It is, and I get it, but I don't have the time to call all my clients back. Hey, you gave me 24 books, 4 of them shouldn't. I would never get anything done. So I tell people before I go, look your book, take them out of the bag, because the back is 50% of the book sometimes, and look it over, because there could be a tear in the back or something that if it's minor, I'll just continue on. If it's something that I think is significant, then of course, I'll contact them.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, it's similar. I don't contact about rips. I just assume they know it, but we do have a before and after pic, because sometimes people will think it was going to be a 9.6, but they didn't pay enough attention to like a 5-inch color break on the back. But the time I do get in touch is, especially if it's a valuable book, and all of a sudden I'm like, it's kind of on the fence, is this maybe, and I'll kind of say, if this were my book, I would go for it. Or I'll say, if this were not my book, I'll say if this was my book, I would go, or if this is my book, I would hold. Or also, as we mentioned earlier, sometimes it's like, it's Hulk 181, 8.0. It's going to stay 8.0, but it's going to present so much better that it's going to be worth the.
Yeah, you'll have a better chance to sell it if you wanted to.
So the times I reach out is like that, or sometimes if it's a centerfold that's popped, because I don't want them to think that's like the defects that are more likely that can possibly happen during pressing. So sometimes I'll mention, did you know this centerfold is loose? But I don't every time on that. I just have to think that we make a note of it, because if you end up sending out 50, that's a certain amount of emails all the time. It's the difference between slowing you down too much.
See, I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because say someone sends you an 8.0 book, you clean it and press it, and it truly looks better than when you got it. And the customer say, "Hey, I paid you, and it's still an 8.0." They don't understand. So take a look at that book. Like, if the eye appeal on that book, yeah, it's got the same grade, but I guarantee you'll have a better chance to sell that book if you want to sell it than you did than the book you sent me. And that's what they need to understand too. Yeah, it may have the same grade, but that book looks a hell of a lot better than what it did. And when you send them pictures or before and after, they shut their mouth after that.
And I was just going to say, once you've sent thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of books and cracked out thousands and thousands of books, there's times when a book looks better, but it's still dropped because that was the CGC paid more attention to this defect the second
Absolutely.
time. So
and that happens.
I love the pressers who say their books they crack never go down.
It's a thing.
Give me a bloody break.
Especially with what I brought up, that 9.6. I mean, you can go up or down. I mean, you got a 50-50 chance, bro.
Now, that being said, more often than not, they go up. But
there is a chance,
right? But they go down from time to time for sure. But they do go up mostly. Sometimes they stay the same, and very rarely they do go down. But for those guys, I won't send it. Well, how do you know? Like, how do you?
Right.
Come on. Yeah, I think that's pretty funny.
Just to explain our process. I mean, normally we try to be consultative. I encourage people to send me pictures ahead of time.
Yeah.
Not to not fill my email. I encourage people to contact me on Instagram. Let Instagram store all the pictures and not make you break up your emails, and not send me all the high grade images you want through on IG. But we've invested in our web checkout process and form. So actually, in our form, you can specify. There's a lot of things you can tell us about, like what you want, and also you can opt in to have us add services later. We don't just stick them on, but I mean, we call you back. But so people who opt out say, I'm not interested in new services. Actually, we'll spend less time with that group. And the people who say I'm interested in something, we'll get back to them. We've actually just mastered a lot of the stuff you otherwise need: tape removal, tear seals, staple management. So that way, when we do find it, we have a service to meet it. I would say the most stuff we have to do where we actually have to talk to people is when you have that surprise heavy stain on the inside. You got like a dark cover. Yes. Looks really nice. That's kind of what that check mark was, I guess, at CBCS. You open it up, there's a really strong tide line or something like that on the inside cover, which, again, if you're going to slab it and it's only your book, you don't have to fix that. I mean, you just enjoy it. But if you're going to monetize or whatever, you really need the grade to be something special, then that's where it needs extra work. So that's probably where we spend the most time talking to people after they've submitted the book, unless it's like, again, cut coupon, we talk to them as well, Marvel value stamp, or a piece of tape. If there's some kind of tape in the middle of the book, and it wasn't mentioned to us, because, and of course, then we talk to them. Those are the reasons we would do it. But yeah, we try to get as much as we can ahead of time exchanged, not on every book, but generally, what are your problem concerns? What are your most valuable books? And what do you want us to watch out for?
I did a video on YouTube where one of my clients in Montreal gave me an ASM number 1, and I think it was a 4. No, sorry, it was a 5. It was a 5, and he sent me the book with a bunch of others, and I told him, I don't think this book's going to go up. And 5, 6s always can be kind of funny, right? But I don't think it's going to go up. It's going to look better, but I don't. And sure enough, he goes, I want to do it. I'm going to take, people want to gamble on it. Go for it. I said, there's always the risk. It could go down. It could be 4 or 5. Are you okay? He goes, I'm okay with that. I said, all right. So I cracked it, did the work. And I got before and afters of this book. And I did a video on my YouTube. And I showed the before and I showed the after. And everyone's going to go up. It's going to go up. It stayed exactly the same. Right. And he's still shocked to this day it went down. Or no, sorry, it stayed the same, I mean. But it did obviously improve. But I mean, it is what it is, right? It is what it is.
Actually, that's where the whitening
could helps.
That's where the light irradiation, those treatments really bring out the color. You got the same structural book, but you can really refresh the color, the vibrancy. And it's almost like, again, I'll just give another example of modern technology.
You're speaking to the BLED or BLED or whatever they call it.
That is one approach that the authors of that book are trying to brand. Yes. Okay. So gotcha. But that is right. But in general, light in those wavelengths, the point is they create optical brightening. if you buy a white shirt today or white clothing, you're really buying something that's kind of blue, but it's got optical brighteners in it. Same with cosmetics that brighten your skin. They're really changing the way light is moving around on the surface. Your skin still the same color, but it's redirecting light out of the shadows, and your skin looks brighter and the clothes look brighter. And so when you're basically changing your charging particles that are on that paper. And when you change the way the particles are excited, the energy, they reflect light and absorb light differently. And so you're changing the way the paper treats light as the light hits it. Ultimately, these techniques can help rejuvenate, a surface in no contact, in such a way where you do get a different result, even with the same structure. And so ultimately, those unfixable books, again, we've tried to come up with something that people can get from us that gives an improvement that they can see. They feel like they've got a difference. And that is a place for that type of technique we have.
And I think where people are learning too quick with that is when, obviously, if you use a blue LED for too long, it takes out the reds go first. So you're going to see somebody that's just learning and they're going to have their reds are going to be faded.
They could just be learning with an eraser, and they could accidentally take off a line of text on the back of a Silver Age marble. So I just want to be clear, right? I mean, you can't do it. I encourage people to try. They shouldn't be careless. Everybody makes mistakes. They're fragile things. You're not a clown simply because you make a mistake when you're doing it. But I'm just saying that there's a lot of fear mongering in the space. I don't like it one bit. I don't tolerate it, if you will. So no one's making me afraid to try something, but I certainly am afraid to try it on your stuff. We spend the money and the time on our stuff,
and that's cool.
We're not afraid,
and that's where I'm with Chris on this. I mean, if it was my own book, maybe, but I just won't. I have a client who's got a lot of big books, and there was a guy on Facebook. I don't know, his name, but he was doing cover lightning. He did it. It was a really nice looking bump. I mean, the before and afters were dramatic. It was a Hulk 181. You guys probably know what I'm talking about here. And it jumped like 3 grades up to a 9, I think. It was crazy. I'm like, holy shit. I saw it. Oh my God, that's fantastic. And so anyways, a buddy of mine started sending books, and like half of them came back. And these are big books, purple and conserved, cover clean. And I said, and he wanted me to do it. And I know how they do it. I know, I don't know how you do it, Barry. I'm not saying I know how you do it, but I know how the other fellas are doing it. And I think Chris probably knows too. And I'm like, yeah, I refuse to do it. So I'm not doing that, because I'm not going to be responsible for those books coming back conservative, because then you're going to be like mad at me. And
I just want to be clear. You only need light to do any of this. You don't need any of that stuff. It helps. It accelerates.
Sure,
but I just want to be clear. Light alone does quite a bit, but you do need masking. No question. You've got to be able to mask that. And again, as all three of us here, Joe, it comes from collector background, but we come from that art background, right? Yeah. I mean, building a mask using Photoshop we do this stuff all the time. I'm just saying, like, it's routine. So yeah, it takes some effort, it takes some staging, and it takes some planning. But no question, light alone can do quite a bit. I'm not endorsing it as an end all be all for anything. Yeah. And we don't only just use light, but ultimately it does. Rejuvenating with light is one way to change the appearance when you cannot change the structure to help create a positive, potentially grade bumping change, incremental change.
Martian Comic Hunter has a question. He said, what's the best resource or book that y'all would recommend? And I'm assuming it's for pressing.
I'll be honest. I didn't read no book. I'm hardest school of hard knocks. I mean, I started doing this years ago, and there was no book. I just did it. And I actually had friends. I had conservative friends. There's a college here that has a conservation program, and I tapped him on the shoulder and asked him questions. But I mean, generally speaking, bought a press, started hacking my own books, just like you guys are saying. Barry, do your own books. And I did my own books for at least a year before I didn't even want to offer it. It was a total fluke that I'm even here, because there's a buddy because I was selling toys at this comic show, and my buddy Roy's like, put a sign up for that comic pressing you do. I go, so I stuck a sign up, and a first guy comes over. He gave me 4 books, and then from there it went nuts. So there was no book, just practice on your own stuff. But there are books, and perhaps these guys can fill you in. There's a lot of websites out there that have a lot of stuff, obviously. But
I typically always just say, because I was learning on my own too, and there weren't books out then. And every time, sure, you'd be silly not to look at them, but my technique has not changed from anything that I've read. It's funny how sometimes people get in the same realm, but nothing's ever changed. And I wouldn't have one I recommend off the top of my head. But the thing I always tell people is almost like write your own book, in the sense that write notes. Every book you put on, write down the heat that you have it on, write down if you leave the heat on or if you don't leave the heat on, and how long you leave it on. If you humidify, which I humidify everything in one form or another, because that's how your paper is going to hold it longer.
Right.
But write down how long you humidified it, what was the water temp, everything. And then write down if it was good, if it was not, if it was passable, and then how it was the next day. Did it revert at all? That's how you're going to make the most progress in your own.
I love what you just said, Chris. That's the recipe. Like, you've got to write everything down, because you can't remember. You can. And you definitely want to see, what did I do to get this? I mean, this was me like 8 years ago. I mean, I'm like, I could write a book with everything that I put together. I would need Barry to write it for me.
He's gonna proofread it.
Yeah, he proofread it and grade it, but and grade my writing, But I think we all could write a book. But one thing's for sure, it sounds like we all chew on some of the same dirt and experience a lot of the same things and see a lot of the same books. And I love the fact that we've got different takes. We've got Kevin from Canada, and we've got Barry who is embracing future techniques and stuff, because I totally wanted to get into that. And Chris, and just that down home Ohio-ness of you. And I love that Spider-Man statue. I can't stop looking at it.
Thanks, yeah.
I am so freaking jealous of that damn
sideshow.
Yeah.
No, this actually is it's if you stood up, you'd be about 10 feet tall. I make video games also, and I worked at Neversoft Entertainment, Activision, for 10 years in Los Angeles. And this was a $35,000 custom statue for an Activision Spider-Man game. And when Neversoft merged with Infinity Ward, I got the statue for free. It was in the lobby when we walked in, up on the wall. So I moved it from LA. It was crazy. It'd be 10 feet tall if he stood up. That's how big of a Spider-Man.
Unbelievable.
It's beautiful.
I would just say, just on the book question, is there's no one book that tells you what to do. The books that have been written on pressing should be read, but that is from the point of view of, let's call it household or easy to find supplies, to create something that's attainable at a hobby scale. That's what I have seen. I would read every book there is on pressing, but basically YouTube channels were my source of comic specific education until I ran out of YouTube channels, and then I discovered Instagram. Like, there's got to be more content out there, and that's where now you see people's stuff every day, every minute is coming out, which is great. That's what I like about it. But ultimately, I will give a shout out to Rick at Immaculate Comics, who is a bold guy. I mean, he's not afraid to try something and be wrong. That is courage par excellence. He is an innovator. He's done so. I can't agree with everything he does, but I don't disagree with a lot of things he does either. He's a brilliant guy, and brilliant in a lot of different ways. ETA Nick, if you know this person, who is a home presser, he had a video series on YouTube. He's kind of stepped back from that, but he had a lot of DIY type stuff where I got tricks and techniques, huffing on fingerprints. I think that I saw that for the first time from him. And Comic Doctor, who's here, and I know Chris has a channel. I've looked at his videos, but he's not a how-to type person. He talks about his passions and collecting and stuff that I've seen. But I mean, ultimately, yeah. I mean, I would say that it's not really in books. By the way, there are paper conservation societies, and there's an association of conservators. You should do it, and I strongly encourage you, if you really are serious, to go to your local college library and talk to the librarian there. Whoever it is knows more about conserving paper, probably has beautiful comics hiding from public view, sitting in that college library, even if it's just newspaper comics.
Or magazines.
And understanding how librarians do it, they have the secrets. They know what is common and routine, and a yawn for them is what we are bandying about as like, hushed matters here in the comic space. So those are the best places I think to. And finally, I would be reading the websites of archival supplies dealers. I've mentioned this in other webinars like Talus and places like the people who sell the supplies tell you what the supplies are used for. And they have explanations of why you should buy such a thing and why conservators favor it, when to use it. And so reading the websites of the conservator suppliers is also a great way to get familiar with what options are out there. Then you have to try it on your own books.
Man,
Kind of go one step further. I mean, I agree with everything you just said there. If you, and this is the guidance counselor in me, but if you have the time and the inclination, your college might actually have a conservation program, right? Like I mentioned here in Ontario, there's a college about 45 minutes that has a paper conservation program. And I'll tell you, if I had the time, I don't. Boy, I think I'd like to enroll because that'd be a hell of a lot of fun.
The only thing I'm going to add, just come back to my I paid for it. I went to school for this. I support what Kevin said 100%. But librarians, they're free.
That's true.
And their whole job is to help you for free. So they are there to ask questions. And if you actually start asking deep questions about something they're trained in, they'll talk to you all day. So that's the beauty. And then, so instead of getting college credit and paying $2-4 grand for that, you can get the librarians, masters in library science degree fed to you just for bringing them Starbucks, and a Dunkin' once in a while. So I encourage you to try that too.
Yeah, I was trying to get that whole conservation kind of here in Ontario and Canada. We have a conservation society as well. I wanted that stamp of approval on my business, right? And I don't have the credentials, so I can't do that. But Napur, who
you said you've hired somebody who has that expertise.
Does, right? And so we're going down that road. We're looking into that. So
you're a leader. Yeah.
So she does have it, and with her being a part of the business now, I can add that. So we're looking into that, which is pretty cool because and she's a wealth of knowledge too, right? But again, it's not comic books she's used to. She's used to working on 500-600-year-old manuscripts and what have you, and it's crazy. It's fun.
That's where I'm so glad you mentioned that, Barry, because that wasn't the books that I was reading 12 years ago, right? Because there weren't how to press comics. And that's where we don't want stuff to get sloppier. You got to always go back to the conservation. That's what the people were reading before there were books on pressing. So that's just a great point. I'm so glad you brought that up because that was written down on my notes to bring up, and then I forgot about just talking about the checklists. But
well, thank you. But I will. I taking all that, I'll still come back to one book we cited earlier in the conversation. The new guide from CGC.
That's
how they grade is indispensable. You must understand how CGC grades. For example, I did not know that a 5.5 could have a 3-inch tear. I did not know that. That's a big tear. It can't have a bunch of other stuff, but I mean, the new guide is very, very useful to know what you can get away with. And sometimes I've introduced a tear, and again, I panic. It just happens when you do your job. But it's like but it's a 1/4 inch. It wasn't there. I have to talk about it. I feel bad, but ultimately, it actually isn't going to affect the structural grade. I've gotten some relief studying that book. So the point is to win at any game, you must know the rules and how to bend them or to work within them to achieve your objectives. Yep. And so I will say that that fully understanding the rule, not totally, still vague, and let's still, subjective calls, but understanding the rules better than ever with that book, you are much better presser or facilitator as you try to get something across from a 6 to a 6.5 or wherever you're heading.
You know what I just thought of, guys? Can you imagine us four in a comic shop?
We would never go home.
Right?
It has been a while, hasn't it?
Right? We'd probably blow people's minds like, what are y'all talking about?
Well,
Is the video this long allowed on YouTube?
I think so.
Have we broken it?
2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours. That's amazing, man. I'm just so appreciative. I don't know how I'm going to top my 3rd show. Like, look what you guys done. Like, anything.
Thank you for bringing us together. Kevin, I'd seen his stuff. I only knew him as the comic doctor, so now he's got a first name.
And I did. Maybe it starts a trend on YouTube where we bring pressers together and because honestly, sharing ideas or tips or whatever. Who knows? Whatever. but I'm saying like building a relationships, like, because I see you guys on Instagram now. It's all, I know that guy. I talked to that guy, and I think that is pretty cool. 15 years ago we couldn't even get on something like this.
May I encourage you to keep looking for diversity? There probably are some female pressers. I hope to see them and meet them. I've seen a couple. I do hope, again, and in my other professions, diversity and inclusion is a big deal. In the comic space, I hope it is and will be. My goal, if I would love to see more diverse pressers on your show, at least somebody without a beard. Let's start there.
Well, I could always see if Napur would come on. Like I said, she's become quite a damn proficient presser. So and she has that conservation background. Although it might take some convincing to get her to come online, but I could certainly ask her.
Well, diversity is important. I think that's one big thing. But you'll know one other thing for the future. I'll call it. There is no such thing as a pressing convention. You don't have an industry gathering. There are no standards. We don't have panels. We don't do exchanges. We will legitimize our profession here. So I do think that's coming. But because of the history of trade secrets, and because so many people are self-taught, it's going to take more leadership. Maybe we're at the beginnings of that, but I do see that as well.
That's a good point, Bear. I always thought about putting some kind of, like, I don't want to say a union together, or some kind of a vetted list, or with people with a certain amount of experience. And but I don't want to be the one in control. I would want to be the puppet master of that. I think that'd be quite the undertaking. And I don't know.
The puppet masters are the rich ones, though. It turns out they're not very popular, but they're crying all the way to the bank. Said
who's that? Sorry,
CTC.
Okay, yeah,
CDC. Yeah. Right. I'm saying they can get a room full of pressers going. They're all on the same payroll. Well, right. We'll have to find a way to do it. But and I've talked. There's a couple of good conventions. What we need to do is pair up with a really good con, whether it's SDCC or something else. And there needs to be a day or a set of panels or breakouts on that. And ultimately, I'll share it out loud. I've dreamed of a press-a-thon. We basically need to take a case, like a warehouse find of, like, whatever, Guardians of the Galaxy 39. Some crazy thing's been found a case, and we drop it off a building. Everybody gets one. And whoever comes up with the most, closest to 9.8,
that'd be crazy.
And you pay to enter, right? Raises some money, and then everybody does it, and then you publicize the results and
make it a charity event, right? A charity event or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
Whatever. Well, again, it's for running a conference with food, beverage, and hospitality. But ultimately, I do think one day we will have a press Olympics or something like that, where people can learn from it while watching their favorites or rooting on for the people they know. I mean, create a connection while learning together. Wouldn't that?
Well, you have all these chefs that have something like this, and they're not going to give away their recipes, but it's the appreciation for the grind. Because at the end of the day, this is work. I mean, it's a labor of love for me, but at the end of the day, it's work.
It is work.
Yeah, it absolutely.
A lot of freaking work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people don't. Oh, he just puts that book in an iron and he wets it, and it's 200 degrees. Like I'm making a cake, and it's not like that. It's a craft, and when people start to understand that, hopefully we'll get a little more respect. So
I think pressing gets a lot of respect. Again, I think restoration gets
I want more
oodles of disrespect.
More respect.
Most people have learned that the purple. We've found something we love to hate. We're human. And we just point the finger at it. And if you make something purple, but that's all right. Again, every industry needs villains. Controversy creates excitement. As far as I'm concerned, the people who are in comics to be excited by the characters, the nostalgia, the transformations that we as pressers are able to offer them, or the upside by paying. And that's the whole point. They beat us up. You got me purple. You did this. And they paid 15 cents, 25 cents for the comic.
50 years ago.
And they're still pissed off. They're not getting 10, 12K for it. So, yeah, I love those people, though. I mean, they teach you something about going for it. So, anyway, my hope is we're all going to find new opportunities to do exchanges that aren't contentious, that still preserve the secrets, a little bit of the mystery, but that otherwise bring stuff together, and that aren't in the private Facebook groups run by the select few who publish with their own private little links to buy stuff from, and then make you pay a toll to enter just to tell you that everybody else who isn't in the group isn't your friend necessarily. And I that part is a very tough culture to break. It isn't just the Facebook people, the CGC forumites in the past. It's been like that now. So coming out in the open, having that open community, but still having secrets, that balance, that professional balance, that's what I think we still have yet to master. But when it comes together, it's going to be great.
To me, it's like having a good mechanic, right? I mean, I can change my brakes myself or redo my engine if I want to. But why would I when I'm not an expert? I'm going to go to the professionals for that, right? So, but you're allowed to. I can change my own brakes. I'm allowed to, or do electrical work on my house if I want to. But you go to somebody who knows what they're doing. So I kind of.
You don't use water on your car, do you? You don't touch it with water.
No.
I hope not.
No. I use what do you call it? Hydrogen peroxide with lots of blue lights and stuff. It's great.
I still don't know how to restore my headlights, bro. You know what I mean? Like that's the code I want to crack. The comic book pressing I got, the headlight bullshit.
I think I could do that.
They're never going to turn clear. They're never going to. I don't care what you put on it. Just go buy a new headlight.
That's probably the best way,
right? Like
what?
That's worse than the comic pressing. The headlight bullshit.
And Red Hood, that kind of goes with what I think about some comic books people bring in. So they have a Thor 337. They want to get a 9.8. They got a 9.4. Sell your 9.4 and go buy a 9.8.
Yeah, go buy it.
And keep the prices high for everyone else, please.
I do tell people quite a bit that I obviously show lots of CGC was here, and I booked it here because it's like solid, undeniable.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, we all do that.
But I've made the most money when I buy raw, clean press, get it graded, and then sell it. But there's nothing wrong. I've cracked plenty of my own books too, because there's nothing wrong with the good, sweet books for that. But man, you often make the most money buying raw, clean press.
I tell you, I lost so much money last year. I didn't do any of my own books last year, and I got tons. I didn't do a damn one of my own books.
Yeah, I probably.
I've got a big pile, and I said, man, I'm going to send those in. And I keep it, and then I look at. I get an alert. I got boxes at my PO box. That's right. And then I'm coming with huge. I go, what the hell did this guy send me? He's like, are we open for business, Red Hood? I said, yeah, I'm caught up. Good Lord, man. I had one guy send me 200 books, and I'm just like, oh my God.
We love it. That's a happy day here. Let me tell you, anybody who's out there, big collections, that's our thing. We want to build deep relationships, help people systematically. The cumulative value, the cumulative win is the best for all. And creating that uniformity, that consistency across the collection. It's not quite a pedigree, if you will, but getting a group batch of books pressed uniformly, they do have a very similar look and feel the way we treat them. And, it's just another way to get that sense of completion for the collector, for the dealers, who's trying to either move them to market or get that whole collection slab, get that run done, for whatever objective they're trying to hit.
Okay, guys, it's been over 2 hours. I think we said we were going to do this for an hour, and hopefully we can do this again. Let's maybe a month from now or something like that, a couple of months from now, let this marinate a little bit. But it was phenomenal. It was I am just so grateful that you guys took time to. You guys really don't know me. I'm loudmouth Red Hood that just trolls on other podcasters, and very grateful for Laura and Anthony from Bird City Comics who allowed me to kind of get podcasting down, and Aaron Yee and Brian McClay and Thorough. I am just utterly grateful. So.
Thank you for hosting.
Chris had to jump out, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Nice to talk to everybody.
Now, I wish I had an exit video, like all the cool YouTubers have. I got to work on that because I'm not allowed to use like Rolling Stones music and stuff like that. So I didn't know that.
Let's remind everybody, please like and subscribe to
yeah. Comic. Yeah, I'll get good at this. I promise. But thank you so much, Kevin and Barry. I love you guys. I love your work, and
thank you. Right,
keep doing what you're doing. And
thanks to everybody out there who shared information, whether it's been easy or hard, who's trying their butts off to get this right their own way. And for everybody who's still got a collecting goal they have yet to achieve, they keep it great for all of us. Thank you.
And sorry
Thanks,
if I
guys.
didn't answer anybody's question. I had a hard time reading everything here, and so I do apologize.
There,
for that.
he's back.
Oh,
He's
there
back.
he is.
Sorry, I made it that long and I didn't just quit. I hit a button.
Well, I would give this podcast a 9.4 because I didn't have an intro and I don't have an exit. So next time this podcast is going to be a 9.8, baby.
We're bumping it.
We're
Hey,
bumping.
it's so great to talk to everyone. Thanks for having us on.
Nice to meet you,
Love
Chris,
talking
as
to you
well.
guys.
Finally, I see your
Yeah,
face
thanks
all
to
the
meet
time in
you.
the adverts, but I never met you, so it's nice to
So
see you.
great to meet you. And always good talking to you, Barry, and Red Hood too, man.
Oh, you know what we're going to do when we end this? We're going to talk all our secrets.
Yeah, well, Barry's going to show us that blue light thing. I want to see.
Oh yeah, we're going to do the blue light.
I'm
Wish
looking
you
forward
could hang around, guys.
Can I tell our viewers something? If you guys are still watching, if anybody's still
I
here.
think I ended it.
Oh, did
Wait.
you? Okay, don't worry about it.
Not yet. We're
No.
still live.
Come on over to my YouTube channel and subscribe because I hit 2,015 subscribers a couple days ago. Thank you. And I'll be having a huge giveaway in about a week. A lot of comics and comic signed Jim Lee print. It's going to be awesome. So if you want some free stuff, come on by. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen probably the next week or so. But you have to subscribe to come on over and join in. Anyways, that's it.
Cool.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Do you guys have anything you guys want to promote? Barry?
Please follow me on Instagram. I'm almost at 4,000 subscribers.
Wow.
That's where my subs are. Hope you'll join us. Otherwise, visit us on comicpressor.com in addition to my esteemed colleagues.
Chris?
Yeah, thanks. And Barry and I are similar, and we always respect each other when we note a client accidentally went to the wrong one because I am the comic book presser. So we have similar websites, even similar emails, and similar Instas. But anyway, I'm the comic book presser, 12 years, and having a good time on Instagram and everything. So just come check us out. We're getting ready to do some updates to our website and everything.
And me, I'm Red Hood Comic, not to be confused with Red Hood Comics with an S.
Right.
It's like McDowell's, with the arches. So we made friends. So he's cool with me. I go, bro, we got two different kinds of businesses. You're selling books. I'm pressing books. So we have a truce. But thank you once again, guys and fans. Thanks for tuning in.